Ryan Brooks thought he was invisible, until the day he opened the wrong door and saw something he shouldn't have. In that single moment, standing frozen in the doorway of the executive suite, he watched his quiet life as a maintenance worker shatter. The woman behind the desk, Claire Vaughn, the untouchable CEO of Vantage Technologies, looked up with eyes that could end careers. Ryan knew the rules. People like him didn't belong on the executive floor. People like him didn't see powerful women in unguarded moments. People like him got fired for mistakes like this. But what happened next would change everything. If you're ready to discover how one wrong door became the right path, stay with me until the end. And please, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. The fluorescent lights in the basement maintenance corridor had burned the same sickly yellow for 6 years. Ryan Brooks had stopped noticing them somewhere around year 3, the same way he'd stopped noticing a lot of things. The hum of the ventilation system, the chemical bite of industrial cleaner, the way other people's eyes slid past him like he was part of the building's infrastructure, necessary but unremarkable. At 34, Ryan had perfected the art of being invisible. He pushed his maintenance cart down the empty hallway, the wheels squeaking in their familiar rhythm. It was 6:47 p.m. on a Thursday, and the Vantage Technologies building was settling into its after-hours quiet. Most employees had already fled to their lives outside these walls. Ryan envied them that. The clean separation between work and existence, the ability to close a laptop and be done. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He didn't need to check it to know it was Mia's after-school program, confirming pickup time. 7:30 p.m. He had 43 minutes to finish his rounds, clock out, and make the 17-minute drive across Seattle to get his daughter. The math of his life had become ruthlessly precise. Ryan's cart held the usual supplies, cleaning solutions, replacement bulbs, basic tools. But tucked beneath a stack of rags was something else, a technical manual for the building's HVAC system. He'd been studying it during his lunch breaks for 3 months, working through the engineering diagrams with the same focused intensity he'd once applied to his coursework at Seattle Technical Institute. Before everything fell apart, before Sarah got sick, before cancer transformed his wife into a ghost and then into a memory, leaving him with a 4-year-old daughter and grief so heavy it had crushed every ambition he'd ever held. That was 2 years ago. Mia was 6 now, and Ryan had become an expert at compartmentalizing. Work was work. Home was home. Dreams were dangerous luxuries he couldn't afford. He rounded the corner toward the executive floor's mechanical room, mentally reviewing his task list. Replace the air filter in suite 1847. Check the thermostat calibration in the conference rooms. Investigate the humidity sensor that had been throwing errors all week. Simple, straightforward work that required his hands, but not his heart. The executive floor was always quiet at this hour. The people who worked up here, the vice presidents and senior directors and other corporate aristocracy, kept different schedules than the rest of the building. They arrived late, left early, and expected the infrastructure to simply work without ever seeing the people who made it work. Ryan preferred it that way. Invisibility was a kind of armor. He was halfway to the mechanical room when his phone buzzed again. This time he checked it. A text from Mrs. Chen, his neighbor, who sometimes watched Mia when his shifts ran long. Mia asking about dinner. Want me to start something? Ryan's jaw tightened. He'd promised Mia they'd make tacos tonight, her favorite. Another promise he might not be able to keep because the building's mechanical systems didn't care about 6-year-old girls who needed their father home. He typed back quickly. Thanks. I'll be there by 7:45, promise. The word felt hollow even as he sent it. Ryan pocketed his phone and quickened his pace. If he could finish the executive floor in 20 minutes, he'd make it. He had to make it. Mia's therapist said consistency mattered, that children who'd lost a parent needed reliability from the one they had left. The mechanical room door was marked authorized personnel only. A joke, really, since Ryan was probably the only person in the building who understood the systems back there. He pulled out his master key card, the one that opened every maintenance access point in Vantage Technologies' 42 floors. The card reader beeped green. Ryan pushed the door open and stepped into wrong room. The realization hit him instantly. This wasn't the mechanical room. The carpet was too expensive, the lighting too warm. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Elliott Bay, where the last sunlight bled gold across the water. Modern furniture arranged with precision, and in the center of it all, behind an executive desk made of glass and chrome, stood a woman. Claire Vaughn. Ryan knew who she was, the way janitors know royalty, from a distance, through reputation, and the occasional glimpse. The CEO of Vantage Technologies. The woman who'd built a regional tech company into a national force through a combination of brilliant strategy and ruthless execution. Forbes had called her Seattle's most enigmatic leader. TechCrunch said she had ice in her veins. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not at 7 p.m., not on a Thursday, and she definitely wasn't supposed to be crying. But she was. Claire Vaughn stood with her back partially to the door, one hand pressed against the window, her reflection ghostly in the darkening glass. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. The perfectly composed CEO that Ryan had seen in company newsletters and town halls had been replaced by someone raw and human and vulnerable. For 3 heartbeats, Ryan stood frozen in the doorway. Then Claire turned. Their eyes met. Ryan watched her expression transform in real time, surprise shifting to recognition, shifting to something colder and more dangerous. She straightened immediately, wiping her face with the back of her hand in a gesture that was more angry than embarrassed. "I'm sorry," Ryan said, the words tumbling out. "I'm so sorry. Wrong door. I was looking for the mechanical room. Your maintenance." Claire's voice was steady now, controlled. Only the faint redness around her eyes betrayed what Ryan had witnessed. "Yes, ma'am. I'll go. I didn't see anything. I mean, I did, but I won't." Ryan was backing out of the office, hands raised like she was law enforcement, which in a way she was. She held his employment, his paycheck, his ability to feed Mia in her perfectly manicured hands. "Stop." The command was quiet, but absolute. Ryan stopped. Claire moved around her desk, studying him with an intensity that made Ryan's skin prickle. She wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than his monthly rent. Her dark hair pulled back in a style that suggested control even in crisis. She was tall, maybe 5'9", and carried herself with the kind of confidence that came from having power and knowing how to use it. "What's your name?" "Ryan Brooks." "How long have you worked here, Ryan Brooks?" 6 years. Something flickered in Claire's expression. 6 years? And I've never seen you before." "I'm maintenance," Ryan repeated, as if that explained everything. And maybe it did. "We're supposed to be invisible." Invisible. Claire seemed to taste the word. "Is that what you are?" Ryan didn't know how to answer that. His phone buzzed again. Mrs. Chen probably wondering about dinner. The seconds were ticking away, each one taking him further from his promise to Mia. "I need to go," he said quietly. "My daughter. I have to pick her up." "You have a daughter." It wasn't a question, but Ryan nodded anyway. Claire walked to her desk and sat down, the motion somehow restoring the natural order of things, the CEO behind her throne, the maintenance worker standing before it. But her eyes were still too bright, her composure a degree away from fracturing. "You saw something tonight that no one else has seen," Claire said. "That puts me in a complicated position." Ryan's heart hammered. This was it. The moment where his mistake cost him everything. Jobs like this, with benefits and steady pay and flexibility when Mia got sick, didn't come around twice. Not for single fathers with incomplete degrees and gaps in their employment history. "I won't say anything," Ryan said, to anyone, sus ever. "I promise." Promises are easy to make. Claire leaned back in her chair. "Tell me about your daughter." The question threw him. "What?" "Your daughter. How old is she?" 6. "What's her name?" "Mia." Ryan said it carefully, confused about where this was going. "Look, Ms. Vaughn, I really need to—" "Is she the reason you're here?" Claire interrupted. "At Vantage Technologies, working maintenance when you clearly have technical training?" Ryan blinked. "How do you—" "Your keycard access log." Claire tapped something on her computer screen. "You've been spending your lunch breaks in the mechanical rooms on floors 15 and 22. Those systems are the most complex in the building. You're not doing routine maintenance, you're studying them. A cold realization crept through Ryan's chest. She'd been watching, or someone had been watching for her. Either way, he'd been noticed, and being noticed was the opposite of invisible. I'm just trying to understand the systems, Ryan said carefully, so I can do my job better. Don't lie to me. Claire's voice cut like surgical steel. You have a degree in mechanical engineering from Seattle Technical Institute. Incomplete, yes, but you'd completed enough coursework to design systems, not just maintain them. So I'll ask again, why are you here? Ryan's defenses collapsed. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the surreal nature of being interrogated by a CEO who'd been crying 5 minutes ago. Maybe it was just the accumulated weight of 2 years of pretending everything was fine when nothing was fine. My wife died, he said flatly. 2 years ago, cancer. I was finishing my degree, working part-time, taking care of her and Mia. After Sarah passed, I couldn't... His voice caught. I couldn't do the coursework and be there for Mia. I had to choose. So I chose her. The office fell silent except for the muted hum of the building's ventilation system, the same system Ryan had been studying, trying to understand something he could fix since he couldn't fix anything else. Claire's expression had softened imperceptibly. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. The automatic response, polite and hollow. But that doesn't answer my question. Why are you still here, Ryan? Why maintenance? You could finish your degree, find something better. Better. Ryan almost laughed. Better means unstable hours and uncertain pay. Better means taking risks I can't afford. This job is steady. It has health insurance. It lets me be there when Mia needs me. That's better enough. Claire stood and walked to the window, her silhouette sharp against the fading light. Do you know what I was doing when you walked in? Ryan didn't answer, didn't need to. I was having a moment of doubt, Claire continued, wondering if any of this... She gestured at the office, the view, the empire she'd built, matters, wondering if success means anything when it costs you everything else. She turned to face him. Then you walked in, and I realized something. What? That I'm tired of being invisible too. Ryan frowned, not understanding. Claire moved back to her desk, her decisive energy returning. Tell me, Ryan Brooks, if you had the chance to use your training, really use it, not just maintenance work, would you take it? Ms. Vaughn, I can't. Answer the question. Ryan thought of the technical manuals he studied during lunch, the system designs he sketched on napkins at 2 a.m. when Mia was asleep and the apartment was quiet. The part of himself he'd buried because keeping it alive hurt too much. Yes, he admitted. I would take it. Claire nodded as if he'd confirmed something she'd suspected. Vantage Technologies has a problem. We're expanding into 3 new office buildings next quarter, and our current HVAC infrastructure design is inefficient. We're losing money on energy costs, and our sustainability metrics are below industry standard. It's a PR nightmare waiting to happen. That's outside my, I'm placing you in charge of fixing it. Ryan's mind went blank. What? You heard me. I'm creating a new position, Building Systems Optimization Specialist. You'll report directly to me. Your job will be to redesign our HVAC and energy management infrastructure across all Vantage properties. Ms. Vaughn, I don't have a degree. I don't have the credentials to... You have 6 years of hands-on experience in this building and enough self-directed technical knowledge to understand complex systems. That's more valuable than a diploma. Claire pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. This is my direct number. Monday morning, 8 a.m., my office. We'll discuss terms, salary, and expectations. She held out the card. Ryan didn't take it. Why? He asked. Why would you do this? Claire's expression became unreadable. Because you kept a promise to your daughter instead of finishing something that would have made your life easier. Because you're smart enough to study technical systems during lunch breaks when no one's watching. Because you walked into this office at the worst possible moment, saw something you shouldn't have, and your first instinct was to apologize and leave. She paused. And because everyone deserves a chance to be more than invisible. Even me. Ryan stared at the card in her hand, his entire future balanced on a piece of paper and a decision he had seconds to make. His phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen. Mia's asking for you. The paralysis broke. Ryan took the card. Monday, Claire said. Don't be late. I won't. Ryan backed toward the door, his mind reeling. Thank you. I don't know why you're doing this, but thank you. Ryan. He stopped in the doorway. What you saw tonight, Claire said quietly. It stays between us. Of course. And Ryan? Your daughter? Her name's Mia? He nodded. Bring her by sometime. I'd like to meet her. Ryan didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded again and left, closing the door carefully behind him. The hallway was exactly as he'd left it. Fluorescent lights, industrial carpet, the muted sounds of a building settling into evening. But something fundamental had shifted. The invisible man had been seen. Ryan made it to Mia's after-school program with 3 minutes to spare. She burst out of the classroom the moment she saw him, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders, her dark hair, Sarah's hair, escaping from its ponytail. Daddy, Mrs. Chen said we're having tacos. Ryan caught her in a hug, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. We are definitely having tacos. Can I help? You can be in charge of cheese. Mia's job since she was 4. The responsibility made her feel grown up, important. Ryan understood the value of that, of having a role that mattered, of being seen. They drove home through Seattle's evening traffic, Mia chattering about her day, art class, playground politics, a book about dolphins she was reading. Ryan made the appropriate sounds of interest, but his mind kept returning to that office, to Claire Vaughn's tears, to the card in his pocket that might be a lifeline or a trap. Their apartment was a modest one-bedroom in Greenwood, affordable by Seattle standards, which meant expensive everywhere else. Mia had the bedroom. Ryan slept on the couch. It was temporary, he kept telling himself. Everything was temporary until he figured out the next step. Maybe this was the next step. While Mia set the table, another of her responsibilities, Ryan browned the ground beef and tried to process what had happened. A promotion. A significant one, if Claire's description was accurate. Better pay, certainly. Professional development, the chance to use his training, but also risk. So much risk. Daddy, you're burning the meat. Ryan jerked back to attention. Mia stood beside him, her small face creased with concern. You're right, thanks, kiddo. He adjusted the heat, then looked down at his daughter. Really looked at her. When had she gotten so perceptive? When had she learned to read his mood so accurately? Are you okay? Mia asked. Yeah, baby, I'm okay. You look worried. Ryan knelt down so they were eye level. I had something interesting happen at work today. Something that might be really good for us. Good how? Maybe a new job. A better one. Mia processed this with the seriousness she brought to everything. Will you still pick me up? And there it was. The question that mattered. The only question that really mattered. Always, Ryan promised. No matter what job I have, I'll always pick you up. Mia hugged him, her thin arms strong around his neck. Okay then, can we have extra cheese? They ate tacos at their small kitchen table, and Ryan let Mia tell him about the dolphin book in elaborate detail. After dinner, they did the dishes together. She rinsed, he loaded the dishwasher, and then it was bath time, story time, bedtime. The routine was sacred. It was the framework that held their lives together. After Mia fell asleep, Ryan sat on his couch bed and pulled out Claire's business card. The printed side showed her name, title, and contact information. The handwritten side had a phone number and 4 words. Monday, 8 a.m. Come ready. Come ready for what? Ryan opened his laptop, a refurbished model he'd bought 3 years ago, and searched for Claire Vaughn. The results were extensive. Forbes profiles, TechCrunch interviews, a TEDx talk about innovation and leadership, but nothing personal, no social media presence, no mentions of family or life outside Vantage Technologies. The public Claire Vaughn was brilliant, driven, and utterly opaque. The woman Ryan had seen tonight was something else entirely. Vulnerable. Human. Lost. He didn't know which version he'd be dealing with on Monday. Ryan spent the weekend in a fog of anxiety and preparation. He reviewed technical journals, sketched preliminary designs for energy-efficient HVAC systems, calculated cost-benefit ratios until his eyes burned. He wanted to be ready. He needed to be ready. But doubt crept in during the quiet moments. While Mia practiced her reading, while they walked to the neighborhood park, while she slept, and he lay awake on the couch. What if this was a mistake? What if he couldn't handle the increased responsibility? What if he failed and lost everything? Not just this opportunity, but his steady maintenance job, the stability Mia needed? Sunday night, after Mia was asleep, Ryan stood at their apartment window looking out at Seattle's lights. The city glittered with possibility and promise, all of it feeling simultaneously within reach and impossibly distant. His phone rang. Unknown number. Ryan answered cautiously. "Hello? Ryan Brooks?" A woman's voice. Not Claire. "This is Jennifer Marsh from Vantage Technologies HR. I'm calling to confirm your meeting with Ms. Vaughn tomorrow at 8 a.m. "Yes, I'll be there." "Excellent. Please bring identification and be prepared to complete some standard employment paperwork. You'll also need to sign a non-disclosure agreement." "An NDA?" "Standard procedure for positions with direct executive access." Jennifer's tone was professionally neutral. "Miss Vaughn will explain more tomorrow. Have a good evening, Mr. Brooks." She hung up before Ryan could ask any of the dozen questions flooding his mind. He didn't sleep that night, just lay on the couch, watching shadows move across the ceiling, trying to imagine what Monday would bring. At 6 a.m., he gave up on sleep and made coffee, strong and black, the way Sarah used to drink it. He'd never developed a taste for it himself, but this morning, he needed the chemical courage. Mia emerged from her bedroom at 6:30, her hair a wild tangle. "Daddy, why are you awake?" "Big day at work, baby." She climbed onto his lap, still warm with sleep. "The new job?" "Maybe. We'll see." "Will it make you happy?" The question caught Ryan off guard. When had Mia become old enough to ask things like that? To understand that her father had feelings more complex than tired or hungry? "I think it might," he said carefully. "Then you should do it." "Well," Mia said this with absolute certainty, the way children did before the world taught them to doubt. Ryan held her close, breathing in the strawberry scent of her hair, and thought about Claire Vaughn's words. Everyone deserves a chance to be more than invisible. Maybe his 6-year-old daughter was wiser than both of them. At 7:45 a.m., Ryan stood outside Vantage Technologies in his best clothes, khakis and a button-down shirt he'd ironed 3 times. The building looked different from this angle, seeing it as somewhere he might work rather than somewhere he maintained. The security guard at the front desk recognized him. "Morning, Brooks. You're early." "Meeting with Ms. Vaughn." The guard's eyebrows rose. "8th floor. Executive reception will direct you." The elevator ride felt eternal. Ryan watched the floor numbers climb, his stomach dropping with each ascending digit. What was he doing? He was a maintenance worker with an incomplete degree and a dead wife and a daughter who needed stability. This was insane. The elevator doors opened. Ryan stepped out into a world he'd only glimpsed before. The executive floor was all glass and modern art, and carefully curated ambition. People in expensive suits moved with purpose through spaces designed to impress. "Mr. Brooks." A woman in her 30s approached, tablet in hand. "I'm Karen, Ms. Vaughn's executive assistant. She's expecting you. Follow me, please." They walked down a corridor that seemed designed to intimidate. Karen's heels clicked against polished floors. Ryan tried not to feel like an imposter. "Ms. Vaughn's schedule is quite full," Karen said without looking at him. "She's giving you 30 minutes. Make them count." They reached a door Ryan recognized, the one he'd opened by mistake on Thursday. Karen knocked twice and opened it without waiting for a response. "Mr. Brooks is here." "Send him in." Karen stepped aside. Ryan entered. Claire Vaughn stood at her window, looking out at Elliott Bay. She wore a navy suit today, her hair down instead of pulled back. Without turning, she said, "Close the door." Ryan did. Claire turned to face him. In the morning light, she looked younger than he'd thought, mid-30s maybe, though her eyes held the weight of someone who'd lived through more than years alone could account for. "You came," she said. "You told me to. I've told a lot of people to do a lot of things. Not all of them listen." Claire gestured to a chair. "Sit." Ryan sat. Claire remained standing, and the power dynamic was clear. She controlled this space, this conversation, this outcome. "I've reviewed your employment file," Claire began. 6 years of perfect attendance, no complaints, no disciplinary actions. Your supervisors describe you as reliable, skilled, and, she paused, invisible. "That's my job." "It was your job." Claire sat down across from him, her gaze direct. "I'm offering you something different, something difficult, something that will require you to be very visible." She slid a folder across the desk. Ryan opened it. The title on the first page read, "Building Systems Optimization Specialist, Compensation Package, and Responsibilities." The salary number made Ryan's breath catch. It was more than double what he made now. The benefits package was comprehensive: health insurance, dental, vision, educational reimbursement, flexible scheduling. "This is too much," Ryan said quietly. "It's market rate for the position." Claire leaned forward. "But here's what the paperwork doesn't tell you. This job is a test, Ryan, not just for you, for me. I'm betting my credibility on a maintenance worker with no degree who I'm promoting to a senior technical position. If you succeed, I look brilliant. If you fail, I look impulsive and careless. Then why take the risk?" "Because I'm tired of playing it safe." Claire's voice held an edge of something raw. "Because building a company by never taking chances on unconventional talent means building something hollow. Because that night," she stopped. "Because I saw something in you." Ryan met her eyes. "What did you see?" "Someone who understands that real success means being there for what matters. Someone who kept promises even when breaking them would have been easier." Claire's expression softened fractionally. "Someone who knows what it's like to sacrifice dreams for something more important." The words hung between them, charged with meaning Ryan didn't fully understand. "My daughter," Claire said quietly. "I have a daughter. Had a daughter." The past tense hit Ryan like a fist. She was 8 when she died. Leukemia. That was 5 years ago. Claire's voice remained steady, but her hands were clenched in her lap. "After she passed, I threw myself into building Vantage Technologies. It was easier than feeling, safer than remembering. I convinced myself that success was healing, that power meant control." She looked at Ryan. "But Thursday night, I was sorting through some old files and found drawings Emma had made, pictures of me, always in a suit, always behind a desk. In every single drawing, I was smiling, but she drew me with tears. Even at 8, she knew I was broken." Claire stood and walked to the window. "So when you walked in talking about promises to your daughter, about choosing her over a degree, about being invisible so she could have stability, I realized you were doing what I failed to do. You were being present." Ryan didn't know what to say. This wasn't the conversation he'd expected. "This job is real," Claire continued. "The work is real. The expectations are real. But it's also my way of proving something to myself, that I can still recognize what matters, that I haven't completely lost the person Emma needed me to be." She turned. "So yes, Ryan Brooks, I'm taking a risk on you, but you're taking a risk on me too. This position will change your life. It will challenge you. It will make you visible in ways that might be uncomfortable. Can you handle that?" Ryan thought about Mia, about promises, about the difference between existing and living. "Yes," he said, "I can handle it." Claire nodded. "Then let's get started." The paperwork took an hour. Ryan signed documents he barely had time to read: employment contracts, non-disclosure agreements, liability waivers. Jennifer Marsh from HR appeared with more forms, her efficient manner suggesting this kind of rapid promotion happened regularly at Vantage Technologies. It didn't. Ryan could tell by the way she kept glancing at Claire with barely concealed curiosity. By 10 a.m., Ryan Brooks was officially no longer invisible. Claire walked him to what would be his new office, a modest space on the 7th floor with a window view and actual walls instead of a cubicle. Compared to the basement maintenance corridor, it felt like a palace. "Your first task," Claire said, leaning against the door frame, "is to audit our current systems. All 42 floors, every building in our portfolio. I want a comprehensive report by the end of the month detailing inefficiencies, recommended improvements, and cost projections. The end of the month? Ryan calculated quickly. That's 3 weeks. I'm aware. Too ambitious? Ryan thought about the technical manuals he'd studied, the systems he already knew intimately. No, it's doable. Good. You'll have access to all building schematics and maintenance records. If you need additional resources, submit requests through Karen. Claire straightened. And Ryan? People will question this decision. They'll question your credentials, your experience, your right to be here. Don't give them ammunition. Be better than good. Be undeniable. She left before he could respond. Ryan stood alone in his new office, the weight of what he'd agreed to settling over him like a physical thing. Through the window, he could see Elliott Bay stretching toward the horizon. Somewhere out there, Mia was in school, learning fractions and spelling words, unaware that her father's life had just changed completely. He pulled out his phone and texted Mrs. Chen, something happened at work. Good thing. Might need flexibility this week with pickup times. We'll explain later. Her response came immediately. Mia is always welcome here. Congratulations on whatever it is. Ryan pocketed his phone and got to work. The first week was a study in controlled chaos. Ryan spent 12-hour days buried in building schematics, energy consumption reports, and maintenance logs. The data painted a clear picture. Vantage Technologies' infrastructure was functional but outdated, designed for reliability rather than efficiency. They were hemorrhaging money on energy costs that better system design could cut by 40%. He worked through lunch, took dinner meetings with facilities managers, and stayed late reviewing technical specifications. The apartment remained dark until 9 p.m. most nights. Mrs. Chen started keeping Mia for dinner without being asked. On Wednesday, Ryan received his first paycheck under the new salary structure. He stared at the direct deposit notification for a full minute, certain there'd been a mistake. This was more money than he'd made in 3 months as a maintenance worker. He could pay off his credit card debt, buy Mia new clothes instead of thrift store finds, maybe even save for something beyond next month's rent. The possibilities felt dangerous in their magnitude. Thursday afternoon, Karen appeared at his office door. Ms. Vaughn wants to see you, now. Ryan's stomach dropped. A week into the job and he was being called to the principal's office. He'd known this was too good to be true. He followed Karen to the 8th floor, trying to read her expression for hints about what awaited him. Her face remained professionally neutral. Claire's office door was open. She sat at her desk, reviewing something on her computer. Come in, Ryan. Close the door. He did, preparing himself for bad news. Claire looked up. I've been reviewing the preliminary data you submitted yesterday. The energy consumption analysis across floors 15 through 30. Yes? It's exceptional work, thorough, well-documented, and your cost projections align with industry benchmarks. She leaned back in her chair. I'm impressed. Relief flooded through Ryan. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Your analysis highlighted a problem with the cooling system on floor 22. You recommended replacing the entire unit. The compressor's failing. Patching it would be temporary and expensive. Full replacement makes more financial sense long-term. I agree. Which is why I approved your recommendation this morning. Claire pulled up something on her screen. Facilities is scheduling the replacement for next week. I want you to oversee the installation personally. Ryan nodded. Of course. There's one complication. Marcus Webb. The name meant nothing to Ryan. Senior Vice President of Operations, Claire explained. He oversees all building management and facilities. Which means as of Monday, you technically report to him, not me. I said you'd report directly to me during the transition period. That period ends Friday. Starting Monday, you're part of Marcus's division. Claire's expression was carefully neutral. He's not happy about your promotion. He thinks I'm unqualified. He thinks you're my pet project, a maintenance worker I elevated on a whim. Claire stood and walked to her window, her back to Ryan. Marcus has been with Vantage Technologies for 15 years. He believes in hierarchy, credentials, and paying dues. You represent everything he dislikes about modern corporate culture. Should I be worried? Claire turned. Yes. Marcus is political, ambitious, and smart. He won't sabotage you directly. That would reflect poorly on him. But he'll test you, push you, look for any excuse to prove I made a mistake. So what do I do? Your job. Brilliantly. Undeniably. Claire's eyes held his. And Ryan? Don't give him anything to work with. No mistakes, no delays, no excuses. Ryan left her office with a new knot of anxiety in his chest. He'd been so focused on proving himself to Claire that he hadn't considered the broader political landscape. Now he was walking into a division led by someone who already disliked him. Friday morning, Ryan met Marcus Webb for the first time. The senior VP was in his early 50s, silver-haired and commanding in an expensive suit. He summoned Ryan to his office at 8 a.m. sharp, a power move designed to establish hierarchy. Mr. Brooks. Marcus didn't stand or offer his hand. Sit. Ryan sat. Marcus reviewed a file on his desk. Ryan's personnel record, probably. Interesting career trajectory. 6 years in maintenance, suddenly promoted to a senior technical position. No degree, no formal engineering credentials, just Ms. Vaughn's intuition. The pause before intuition was deliberate and cutting. I've been studying the building systems extensively, Ryan said carefully. I understand. You understand maintenance, Marcus interrupted. That's not the same as understanding strategic infrastructure planning, but Ms. Vaughn has faith in you, so we'll see how this experiment plays out. He closed the file. You'll attend the weekly operations meeting every Monday at 9 a.m. You'll submit progress reports to me every Friday by 5 p.m. Any major expenditures over $5,000 require my approval. Any changes to existing systems require my sign-off. Is that clear? Perfectly clear. Good. You're dismissed. Ryan stood. At the door, Marcus spoke again. Mr. Brooks? Failure is always an option. Remember that. The message was unmistakable. Marcus was waiting for Ryan to fail. Ryan threw himself into work with renewed intensity. If Marcus wanted perfection, Ryan would deliver something better. He worked 16-hour days, surviving on coffee and determination. His comprehensive audit report grew to 70 pages of detailed analysis, complete with CAD drawings of proposed system redesigns and 3-year cost projections. Mrs. Chen became a permanent fixture in Mia's routine. She picked her up from school, gave her dinner, helped with homework. Ryan arrived around 8 p.m. most nights to collect his daughter, who fell asleep in his arms during the drive home. Daddy's really busy at work, Mia told Mrs. Chen one evening when Ryan arrived late again. It's important. Mrs. Chen smiled at her, then gave Ryan a look that said they'd be having a conversation soon. That conversation happened on a Saturday morning. Ryan had promised Mia they'd spend the day together. The zoo, maybe, or the science center. Something fun. Something normal. He woke at 6 a.m. to his phone buzzing. Email from Marcus. Need your preliminary report by Monday morning, not end of month. Board meeting moved up. Adjust accordingly. Ryan stared at the message, rage and frustration warring in his chest. He had 2 days to complete work he'd planned for 3 weeks. Daddy? Mia stood in the doorway, already dressed in her favorite overalls. Are we going to the zoo? Ryan looked at his daughter, then at his phone, then back at his daughter. Not today, baby. I'm sorry. Something came up at work. Mia's face fell. You promised. I know. I'm sorry. We'll go next weekend, I promise. You promised last time, too. The words hit harder than any criticism from Marcus or Claire. Ryan had become his father, the man who was always working, always busy, always somewhere else when it mattered. Mia, It's fine. Mia's voice was small. I'll read my book. She disappeared into her bedroom and closed the door quietly. That quiet was worse than any tantrum. Ryan sat on his couch bed, head in his hands. He was failing. Not at work. At work, he was succeeding beyond anyone's expectations. But at the thing that mattered most, he was failing spectacularly. His phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Ryan, it's Claire. He straightened. Ms. Vaughn, I wasn't expecting... Are you working this weekend? Yes. Marcus moved up the deadline for my report. I know. I approved it. Claire paused. Do you have childcare arranged? No. I was going to work after Mia goes to sleep. Bring her to my house. Ryan blinked. What? Tomorrow. Sunday. Bring Mia to my house. I'll watch her while you work. I live in Laurelhurst. I'll text you the address. Ms. Vaughn, I can't ask you to... You're not asking, I'm offering. And Ryan, call me Claire. Ms. Vaughn makes me feel like I'm conducting a board meeting. She hung up before he could argue. Ryan sat holding his phone, trying to process what had just happened. His CEO, the woman who ran a multi-million-dollar company, had just offered to babysit his daughter so he could finish a work deadline. It made no sense. Unless Claire understood exactly what Ryan was sacrificing because she'd made those same sacrifices once, and she knew how they ended. Sunday morning, Ryan drove to Laurelhurst with Mia in the back seat. She'd been quiet all weekend, hurt by another broken promise. He'd tried to explain about the important deadline, the need to prove himself, but 6-year-olds didn't understand corporate politics. They understood promises kept or broken. That was all. Claire's house was a modern structure of glass and cedar, perched on a hillside with views of Lake Washington. It was beautiful and cold, and looked exactly like a place where someone lived alone. Ryan parked in the circular driveway, suddenly aware of how inappropriate this was. Bringing his daughter to his CEO's house on a Sunday morning. What was he thinking? Before he could change his mind, the front door opened. Claire stood in jeans and a simple sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. Without the armor of her business suits, she looked younger and somehow more vulnerable. You must be Mia. Claire walked down the steps, crouching to Mia's level. I'm Claire. Your dad tells me you're an excellent reader. Mia glanced at Ryan, uncertain. I like books. Me too. I have a whole library. Want to see? Mia's eyes widened. A real library? With a ladder that slides. Very official. That broke through Mia's reserve. She took Claire's offered hand and let herself be led inside. Ryan followed, feeling like he'd stepped into an alternate universe. Claire's house was minimalist and elegant, decorated with expensive taste but lacking personal touches. No photos on the walls, no clutter. Nothing that suggested anyone actually lived here, except for one room. Claire opened a door off the main hallway, revealing a space that was clearly meant to be a home office, but had been transformed into something else. Bookshelves lined every wall, filled with children's books arranged by color. A reading nook with cushions sat beneath a window. Art supplies were organized in clear containers. Stuffed animals occupied a corner. It was a child's room, preserved and waiting. This was Emma's library, Claire said quietly, for Ryan's ears only. I couldn't bring myself to change it. Mia was already exploring, pulling books from shelves with reverent care. Daddy, look! They have the whole dolphin series. Emma loved dolphins too, Claire said. She wanted to be a marine biologist. Mia turned, her face serious. Did she get to be one? No, sweetheart. She got sick before she could grow up. Like my mommy. The simple statement hung in the air. Ryan watched Claire's expression crack, just slightly. Yes, Claire said softly. Like your mommy. Mia nodded, processing this with the matter-of-fact acceptance children had for death. Do you miss her? Every day. Me too. With my mommy, I mean. Mia held up a book about whales. Can we read this one? Absolutely. Ryan stood in the doorway watching his daughter and his CEO sit together in Emma's reading nook, and something in his chest broke open. These were two people who understood loss, who spoke the same language of absence and grief. Claire looked up at him. The office is down the hall. Take as much time as you need. Ryan worked for 6 hours straight in Claire's home office, which was equipped better than most corporate spaces. The report came together with a clarity he hadn't managed all week. Distance from the office helped. So did knowing Mia was safe and happy. He could hear them occasionally, Claire's voice reading stories, Mia's laughter, comfortable silences. The sounds of connection he hadn't realized he was starving for. At 4 p.m., Ryan emerged to find them in the kitchen making grilled cheese sandwiches. Daddy, Claire makes them with 3 kinds of cheese. Mia was perched on a stool, carefully watching Claire work the stovetop. The secret is using real butter, Claire said without turning around. And patience, low heat, slow flip. Like the ones Mommy made, Mia said quietly. Claire's hand stilled on the spatula. Your mommy sounds like she was smart. She was really smart. Daddy says I'm smart like her. He's right. Claire plated the sandwiches and brought them to the kitchen island. Lunch is served. They ate together, the 3 of them, and it felt dangerously close to something Ryan had thought he'd lost forever. Not a replacement for what had been, but something new and unexpected, a different kind of belonging. After lunch, Mia yawned. The week's disrupted routine was catching up with her. "There's a guest room upstairs," Claire said. "She can nap if she needs to." "I don't nap," Mia protested, even as her eyes drooped. "I'm 6. "Of course not. 6-year-olds don't nap. They rest their eyes." But Claire held out her hand. "Come on, I'll show you the room." Ryan watched them go upstairs, his daughter trusting this woman she'd met hours ago with an ease that surprised him. Children had good instincts. Maybe Mia sensed what Ryan was beginning to understand, that Claire wasn't just his CEO. She was someone who understood loss and was trying to build something from its ruins. Claire returned 20 minutes later. "She's asleep. I left the door cracked. Thank you for all of this." "Don't thank me yet. I have ulterior motives." Claire poured 2 glasses of wine without asking if Ryan wanted one. "Come sit." They moved to the living room with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake. Afternoon light turned the water gold. "I wasn't entirely honest about why I asked you here," Claire said. "Yes, I wanted you to finish the report, but I also wanted to meet Mia, to see what you're protecting." "Claire, let me finish." She set down her wine glass. "When Emma was sick, I spent 18 months trying to save her. The best hospitals, experimental treatments, specialists from around the world. I threw money and power at cancer like I could intimidate it into submission." Her voice remained steady, but her hands were clenched. "I missed her 6th birthday because I was in a meeting with a potential investor. Missed her last Christmas concert because I was in Tokyo closing a deal. I told myself I was building Vantage technologies for her, creating something she'd be proud of. But really, I was running from watching my daughter die." Claire looked at Ryan. "Emma passed away while I was on a business call. I was in the hospital room, phone to my ear, finalizing an acquisition. She slipped away, and I didn't even notice until the machine started beeping." "Claire, I'm so sorry. The point is, I know what it looks like when someone sacrifices everything for their child. And I also know what it looks like when someone sacrifices their child for everything else." She picked up her wine, took a sip. "You're trying to do both, Ryan. Be present for Mia while proving yourself at work. It's not sustainable." "I can handle it." "For how long? Until you miss her birthday? Her school play? The random Tuesday when she needs you and you're in a meeting?" Ryan stared at his wine glass, unable to argue because Claire was right. "Marcus is setting you up to fail," Claire continued. "Moving up your deadline, adding bureaucratic hurdles, creating impossible expectations. He wants you to crack under pressure." "Then I won't crack. You're already cracking. I can see it." Claire leaned forward. "Mia told me you've broken 3 promises to her in 2 weeks. That you fall asleep during her bedtime stories. That Mrs. Chen makes her dinner more than you do now." Shame burned through Ryan's chest. "She told you all that?" "She's scared she's losing you the same way she lost her mother. Not to death, but to absence." The words hit like a physical blow. "So what do I do?" Ryan asked quietly. "I can't quit. We need this job. But I can't keep failing Mia either." "You set boundaries. You say no. You refuse to play Marcus's game on his terms." "Easy for you to say. You're the CEO. I'm dispensable?" Claire's voice sharpened. "You think I don't know what it's like to feel that way? I built Vantage Technologies from nothing, and every day someone's trying to prove I don't belong, that I'm too young, too female, too emotional. I've spent 5 years earning the right to set boundaries." She stood and walked to the window. "But here's what I learned, Ryan. The people who matter, the ones who deserve your loyalty, will respect your boundaries. The ones who don't will punish you for having them. And those people were never on your side to begin with." Ryan thought about Marcus's veiled threats, his impossible expectations, his obvious desire to see Ryan fail. "What are you suggesting?" Claire turned. "That you deliver an exceptional report tomorrow. Prove Marcus wrong. Then you establish clear working hours and stick to them. No more 16-hour days, no more missing Mia's bedtime. You do brilliant work in reasonable time. And if Marcus pushes back, then I deal with Marcus. I don't need you to fight my battles. This isn't about fighting your battles. It's about not letting corporate bullshit destroy what matters. Claire's expression softened. I couldn't save Emma, but I can maybe help you avoid the mistakes that cost me everything with her. Upstairs, they heard Mia stirring. Ryan checked his watch. She'd slept for almost 2 hours. I should get her home, he said, and I need to finish the report tonight. Take Monday off. Ryan stared. What? You heard me. Take Monday off, spend it with Mia. Zoo, Science Center, wherever. Submit your report Tuesday morning. Marcus will get the report when I say he gets it. You're still technically in transition under my supervision. I'm extending that period. Claire's voice left no room for argument. Take care of your daughter, Ryan. The work will still be here. Mia appeared at the top of the stairs, rubbing her eyes. Daddy, are we going home? Yeah, baby. Come on down. At the door, Mia hugged Claire without prompting. Thank you for the library and the sandwiches and for being nice. Claire crouched down, eye level with Mia. You're welcome. Come back any time. The books miss being read. Can I really? Claire glanced at Ryan. If your dad says it's okay. Mia looked up at Ryan with such hope that he couldn't say no, even though every professional instinct screamed that this was inappropriate. Yeah, kiddo, we can come back. Mia beamed. She took Ryan's hand and they walked to the car together. As Ryan buckled her in, Mia said, I like Claire. She's sad like us, but she's nice. Ryan looked back at the house where Claire stood in the doorway watching them leave. Mia was right. Claire was sad like them. And maybe that was why this unlikely connection worked. They were all trying to figure out how to keep living after loss. He drove home through Seattle's late afternoon traffic, Mia chattering about the books she'd read and the stories Claire had told her about how Emma loved art and dolphins and making up songs, about how much Claire missed her. That night, after Mia was in bed, Ryan finished his report. It was the best work he'd ever produced, comprehensive, innovative, and backed by data Marcus couldn't dispute. He submitted it at 11 p.m. with a note. Complete system audit and recommendations as requested. Available to discuss Tuesday morning, taking personal day Monday per CEO authorization. Then he turned off his laptop and slept. Monday morning, Ryan woke to Mia jumping on his couch bed. Daddy, you're home. Are we going somewhere? Yeah, baby. Where do you want to go? The zoo. You promised. Then the zoo it is. They spent the day together, the whole day, uninterrupted. They watched elephants and lions and spent an hour at the penguin exhibit because Mia was convinced one of them looked like her art teacher. They ate overpriced zoo hot dogs and got ice cream even though it was barely 60 degrees. They talked about everything and nothing, rebuilding connection that work had fractured. On the drive home, Mia fell asleep in her car seat, happy and exhausted. Ryan carried her up to their apartment, tucked her into bed, and sat in the quiet of their small home feeling like he'd won something important. His phone buzzed. Text from Claire. How was the zoo? Ryan smiled. Perfect. Thank you. Good. See you Tuesday. And Ryan, your report was exceptional. Marcus can't touch you now. Tuesday morning, Ryan returned to Vantage Technologies expecting confrontation. Instead, he found an email from Marcus requesting a meeting at 2 p.m. The tone was noticeably less hostile. The meeting happened in Marcus's office with 3 other senior managers present. They spent an hour discussing Ryan's report, asking technical questions, challenging his cost projections. Ryan answered everything with confidence backed by data. At the end, Marcus leaned back in his chair. This is solid work, Brooks, very solid. Thank you. The board wants to implement your recommendations starting with the 22nd floor. You'll oversee the retrofit personally. It wasn't an apology, but it was acknowledgement. Ryan had proven himself in the language Marcus understood. Results. Over the next 2 weeks, Ryan established his new rhythm. He arrived at 8 a.m. and left by 5 p.m. sharp. He attended Mia's school conferences and dance classes. He said no to after-hours meetings unless absolutely critical. And he delivered work that was consistently excellent. Marcus stopped testing him. The other department heads began seeking his input. Slowly, grudgingly, Ryan was accepted. But the real shift happened outside the office. Claire started inviting them over on Sunday afternoons, casual visits that became routine. Mia would disappear into Emma's library while Ryan and Claire talked about work, life, loss, They shared a language of grief that made conversation easy, natural. Sometimes they didn't talk at all. They'd just exist in comfortable silence while Mia read or drew pictures or asked questions about Emma that Claire answered with increasing ease. One Sunday in early October, Ryan found Claire in Emma's library rearranging books. Mia had asked if she could take some home to read, and Claire was carefully selecting titles. "You don't have to do this," Ryan said. "I can buy her books." "I know, but these are good books. They should be read." Claire pulled out a worn copy of Charlotte's Web. "This was Emma's favorite. She made me read it 11 times. She held it for a moment, then handed it to Ryan. "Give this to Mia. Tell her it's special." Ryan took the book carefully, aware he was holding something precious. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Emma would like knowing another little girl loved it." They stood together in the library that was both shrine and prison, and Ryan saw tears in Claire's eyes. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for all of this, for seeing me when I was invisible, for helping me figure out how to be present for Mia, for—" He paused, searching for words. "For being you." Claire smiled, sadness and warmth mixing in her expression. "We're helping each other, Ryan. You're reminding me why any of this matters, why I built Vantage Technologies in the first place." "Why did you?" "Because Emma was diagnosed when she was 6. I was working a mid-level operations job, good benefits, but no real power. When I tried to get her into an experimental treatment program, we were denied because my insurance wouldn't cover it. I had to watch my daughter suffer because I didn't have enough influence to open doors." Claire's voice hardened. "So I built influence. I built power. I built a company where I made the decisions about who got help and who didn't. And by the time I had everything I needed to save her, it was too late." She wiped her eyes. "That's the thing about power, Ryan. By the time you accumulate enough to protect what you love, you've usually already lost it." Ryan understood then what drove Claire, not ambition, but regret. She'd built an empire on the foundation of loss, trying to prevent for others what she couldn't prevent for Emma. "You're doing it now," he said, "protecting what matters. You protected me. Mia, you gave me the chance to not make your mistakes." Claire looked at him, really looked at him, and something shifted in her expression. "When did you become so wise?" "I'm not wise. I'm just a guy trying not to screw up." "We're all just trying not to screw up." Claire's hand brushed his arm, the touch brief but electric. "Come on, let's go find Mia. I think she's ready for lunch." They walked downstairs together, and Ryan was acutely aware of Claire beside him, not as his CEO, but as a woman. Someone strong and broken and trying to heal. Someone he was beginning to care about in ways that felt dangerous and inevitable. Mia was in the kitchen, attempting to make sandwiches, an ambitious stack of ingredients spread across the counter. "I'm making lunch," she announced proudly. "I can see that," Claire said, trying not to laugh at the chaos. "What are we making?" "Peanut butter, jelly, cheese, and pickle sandwiches." Ryan grimaced. "Baby, that sounds—" "Creative," Claire interrupted. "That sounds creative. Let's try it." They made Mia's bizarre sandwiches together, Ryan, Claire, and Mia, working around each other in the kitchen with an ease that felt practiced even though it wasn't. And when they sat down to eat the terrible sandwiches, all of them pretending they were delicious for Mia's sake, Ryan thought maybe this was healing, not forgetting Sarah or Emma, but learning to build something new alongside the grief. Later, after Mia had gone back to the library, Ryan helped Claire clean up. "She's got you wrapped around her finger," Ryan observed, watching Claire carefully preserve Mia's terrible sandwich creation in plastic wrap. "She reminds me of Emma, the confidence, the creativity." Claire put the sandwich in the refrigerator like it was precious. "But she's not Emma, and I'm not trying to replace what I lost. I want you to know that." "I know." "Do you? Because this—" Claire gestured at the kitchen, the house. Everything could look like a grieving mother trying to fill a void. Ryan set down the dish he was washing. "Is that what it is?" "No." Claire met his eyes. "It's a grieving mother remembering why life matters, because of people like you and Mia who keep living despite the loss. We're barely keeping it together most days. That's all any of us are doing." Claire moved closer. "But it's easier together, don't you think?" The air between them changed, charged with something neither of them was quite ready to name. Ryan was suddenly very aware of how close she was standing, how her eyes held his, how his heart was beating faster than the moment warranted. "Claire! Daddy! Claire! Come look what I drew!" The moment broke. Claire stepped back and they both turned toward Mia's voice. "Coming, baby," Ryan called. As they walked to the library, Claire said quietly, "We should probably talk about this." "About what?" "Whatever this is becoming." Ryan's stomach tightened. "Yeah, we probably should, but not today." Today they would look at Mia's drawings and read more books and pretend that complicated feelings could stay simple. Because the alternative, acknowledging what was growing between them, would change everything. And change, even good change, was terrifying when you'd already lost so much. The conversation they needed to have didn't happen that day, or the next Sunday, or the one after that. Instead, Ryan and Claire fell into an unspoken agreement to exist in the comfortable space between friendship and something more, close enough to matter, distant enough to feel safe. October became November. The Seattle rain returned with its relentless gray persistence, and Ryan's retrofit project on the 22nd floor moved from planning to execution. He spent his days coordinating with contractors, reviewing installation protocols, and proving with every decision that Claire's faith in him hadn't been misplaced. Marcus Webb watched everything with the calculating patience of someone waiting for an opening. He attended every project meeting, questioned every expenditure, documented every minor delay. Ryan felt the scrutiny like weight on his shoulders, but he'd learned to work under pressure. Single fatherhood had taught him that. The first week of November brought a crisis. The new HVAC units arrived defective, a manufacturing error that would delay installation by 3 weeks and push the project over budget. Ryan discovered it during a routine inspection, his stomach dropping as he reviewed the technical specifications that didn't match the order. He called an emergency meeting with the contractors, then drafted a report for Marcus detailing the problem and 3 potential solutions. Each option had drawbacks. The fastest fix was expensive. The cheapest solution added time. The middle ground satisfied no one. Ryan sat in his office at 7 p.m., staring at his computer screen and trying to decide which failure Marcus would punish least. His phone rang. "Claire." "You're still at the office," she said without preamble. "How did you—" "Your computer's online. I can see when you're logged in." A pause. "What's wrong?" Ryan explained the HVAC situation, the defective units, the impossible choice between time and money. Claire listened without interrupting. Then she said, "What would you do if this was your own project? If you owned the company and had to live with the consequences?" "I'd eat the cost and expedite replacement units. 3 weeks puts us into the holiday shutdown. We'd lose momentum and then do that." "Claire, it's $60,000 over budget." "I'm aware. I'll approve it. Send me the documentation." Marcus will accept it because I'm authorizing the expenditure. This is a strategic decision, not a cost overrun." Her voice softened. "Ryan, stop trying to anticipate what other people want you to do. Make the right call and defend it." She hung up before he could thank her. Ryan sent the documentation and the authorization request. Claire approved it within 10 minutes. By the time Ryan left the office at 7:30, replacement units were being expedited from the manufacturer's East Coast facility. He picked up Mia from Mrs. Chen's, drove home through rain-slicked streets, and felt the familiar guilt settle over him. Another late night. Another broken promise about being home for dinner. "Did you save the project?" Mia asked from the back seat. She'd started talking about his work in dramatic terms, saving projects, fighting bad guys in suits, being a hero. Ryan didn't have the heart to tell her that corporate heroism mostly involved spreadsheets and conference calls. "I think so, baby." "Claire will be proud." Ryan glanced in the rearview mirror. "What makes you say that?" "She always smiles different when she talks about you, like she's happy but trying not to show it." 6-year-olds were terrifyingly perceptive. "Does that bother you?" Ryan asked carefully. "That Claire and I are friends?" Mia considered this seriously. "Is she your girlfriend?" The question hung in the car like a live wire. "No, baby. She's my boss and my friend." "But you like her." "Of course I like her. She's been very kind to us." "No, Daddy. You like her like you liked Mommy." Ryan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. They'd reached their apartment complex, and he pulled into their spot before answering. "Mommy was special," he said finally. "No one will ever replace her." "I know," Mia unbuckled herself. "But maybe Claire could be special too, in a different way." She climbed out of the car and headed toward their building, leaving Ryan sitting in the driver's seat wondering when his daughter had become wiser than him. That night after Mia was asleep, Ryan opened his laptop intending to review project schedules. Instead, he found himself staring at a photo on his desktop, Sarah on their wedding day, laughing at something off camera. She'd been 26, alive with possibility, unaware that cancer was already growing quietly in her body. Ryan touched the screen gently. "I don't know what I'm doing," he whispered to her image. "I don't know if it's okay to feel this way about someone else." Sarah's frozen smile offered no answers. Ryan closed the laptop and tried to sleep, but his mind kept returning to Claire, to the way she listened when he talked, to her laugh when Mia said something unexpectedly wise, to the moment in her kitchen when they'd stood too close and the air had changed between them. He was falling for his boss, his CEO, a woman grieving her own lost child while helping him raise his. It was complicated and inappropriate and potentially disastrous for his career. It was also the most alive he'd felt in 2 years. The next morning brought an email from Marcus requesting Ryan's presence at the Monday executive meeting. The message was terse. "Board wants project update, prepare presentation, 30 minutes. Ryan spent the weekend building a presentation that covered every aspect of the retrofit project: timeline, costs, energy projections, risk mitigation. He practiced the delivery until Mia complained that she was tired of hearing about HVAC systems. Sunday afternoon, Claire called. "I hear you're presenting tomorrow." "Marcus's idea, I'm guessing." "Actually, it was mine. The board needs to understand what we're doing and why. You're the best person to explain it." Ryan's stomach nodded. "Claire, I've never presented to the board." "Then tomorrow will be educational." He could hear the smile in her voice. "You'll be fine, Ryan. You know this project better than anyone. Just tell them the truth." "What if the truth is that we're over budget and behind schedule?" "Then you explain why those overruns were necessary and what we're gaining in return." She paused. "And Ryan, I'll be in the room. You're not alone." The board meeting was held in Vantage Technologies' largest conference room, a space designed to intimidate with its massive table, leather chairs, and wall of windows overlooking downtown Seattle. Ryan arrived 15 minutes early with his laptop and a flash drive backup, his suit feeling like borrowed armor. Claire was already there, reviewing documents at the head of the table. She looked up when he entered, and something in her expression steadied him. "Ready?" she asked. "No." "Good. Confidence is overrated." She stood and adjusted his tie, a gesture so casual and intimate that Ryan forgot to breathe for a moment. "Remember, these people approved your hire. They want you to succeed. Show them they made the right choice." The board members began arriving, 8 people representing the investors and stakeholders who'd helped build Vantage Technologies into what it was. Ryan recognized some from company newsletters. They all looked expensive and skeptical. Marcus arrived last, taking a seat directly across from where Ryan would present. His expression was unreadable. Claire called the meeting to order with practiced efficiency, moving through agenda items with the brisk authority of someone who ran board meetings in her sleep. Finally, she reached Ryan's presentation. "Our next item is the Building Systems Optimization Project. Ryan Brooks, our building systems specialist, will provide an update." "Ryan?" Ryan stood, connected his laptop to the projection system, and pulled up his first slide. His mouth was dry. His hands wanted to shake. He forced them steady. "Good morning. 3 months ago, Ms. Vaughn tasked me with auditing and improving Vantage Technologies' infrastructure efficiency. What I found was a system that worked but cost us significantly in energy expenditure and maintenance." He clicked to the next slide showing energy consumption data. "We were spending 42% more on cooling and heating than industry standards suggested we should. Over 5 years, that's $3.2 million in unnecessary costs." A board member leaned forward. "Why wasn't this identified sooner?" "Because no one was looking at the systems holistically. Maintenance addressed problems as they arose. No one stepped back to see the larger inefficiency patterns." Ryan clicked through slides showing his analysis, his redesign proposals, and projected savings. He explained the retrofit process, the challenges, the defective units that had required expedited replacement. "We're currently $60,000 over initial budget," Ryan said, meeting each board member's eyes. "But that overage prevents a 3-week delay that would have cost us more in lost momentum and holiday shutdown complications. The expedited units arrive Thursday. Installation completes by month's end." "And the long-term projections?" This from a woman at the far end of the table. Ryan pulled up his financial models. "Full implementation across all Vantage properties will require an investment of $1.8 million. But we'll recoup that in energy savings within 18 months. After that, we're saving approximately $800,000 annually." He let that number settle. Then he showed his final slide, a comparison of Vantage Technologies' projected energy efficiency versus industry leaders. "This doesn't just save money, it positions us as sustainability leaders in our sector. It's good business and good PR." Ryan closed his presentation and waited for the judgment. The board members conferred quietly. Marcus studied Ryan with an expression that might have been grudging respect. Claire remained perfectly neutral, giving Ryan no indication of how he'd done. Finally, the woman who'd asked about projections spoke. "This is exactly the kind of strategic thinking we need. I move to approve full implementation." "Seconded," another board member said immediately. Claire called for a vote. It passed unanimously. "Congratulations, Ryan," Claire said, her professional mask firmly in place. "You're authorized to proceed company-wide. Work with Marcus on rollout scheduling." The meeting continued with other business, but Ryan barely heard it. He'd done it, proven himself at the highest level, turned a maintenance worker's technical knowledge into strategic value the board couldn't ignore. After the meeting, Marcus approached as Ryan was packing his laptop. "That was solid work, Brooks." Ryan looked up, surprised. "Thank you." "I didn't think you could pull this off." Marcus's admission was frank. "I thought Claire made a mistake promoting you. I was wrong." He extended his hand. Ryan shook it, understanding this was as close to an apology as Marcus would offer. "I still think you cut too many corners and move too fast," Marcus continued, "but you get results. That matters more than credentials." He walked away, leaving Ryan standing alone in the conference room. "Well done." Claire's voice came from behind him. Ryan turned. She stood by the windows, backlit by November gray. "I thought I was going to throw up the entire time," Ryan admitted. "I know, but you didn't. You stood there and made them believe in something they couldn't see yet. That's leadership." "I'm not a leader, Claire. I'm just—" "Stop." She moved closer. "Stop diminishing what you are. You walked into this building invisible, and now the board just gave you $1.8 million to transform our entire infrastructure. You're not just anything." Ryan searched her face, seeing pride and something deeper, something that made his pulse quicken. "I couldn't have done this without you," he said quietly. "Yes, you could have. I just gave you the opportunity. Everything else was you." They stood close enough that Ryan could see gold flecks in Claire's brown eyes, close enough that if he leaned forward just slightly. His phone buzzed. Text from Mia's school. "Mia has a fever. Please pick up." Reality crashed back. Ryan stepped away, already pulling out his keys. "I have to go. Mia's sick." "Of course. Go." Claire's expression shifted from whatever had been building between them back to professional concern. "Keep me updated." Ryan made it to Mia's school in 12 minutes. She sat in the nurse's office looking small and miserable, her face flushed with fever. "Daddy, I don't feel good." "I know, baby. Let's get you home." The nurse handed him a thermometer reading, 101.4, and instructions to monitor for the next 24 hours. Ryan signed Mia out and carried her to the car, her body hot against his chest. At home, he gave her children's Tylenol, set her up on the couch with blankets and her favorite stuffed dolphin, and put on a movie she'd seen 100 times. Then he settled beside her, her fevered head on his lap, and felt the familiar fear that came with a sick child. It was probably just a virus. Kids got them all the time. But Ryan had learned that probably meant nothing when you'd already lost someone to disease. Sarah's cancer had started with symptoms they'd dismissed as probably nothing. Mia fell asleep during the movie, her breathing steady if congested. Ryan texted Mrs. Chen that they wouldn't need her today, then messaged work that he was taking emergency leave. Claire responded immediately. Is Mia okay? Fever, probably just a bug. Keep me posted. And Ryan? Congratulations again. You earned everything today. Ryan set his phone aside and watched his daughter sleep. This was the balance, professional triumph and parental terror existing simultaneously. Success at work meant nothing if Mia wasn't okay. She slept through the afternoon, waking briefly for more medicine and apple juice before drifting off again. By evening, her fever had dropped to 99.8. She wanted scrambled eggs, which Ryan took as a good sign. Did you save the company today? Mia asked between small bites. Something like that. That's good. She set down her fork. Daddy, my teacher said our class is doing a thing before winter break. A performance. We're supposed to invite our families. When is it? December 15th, at 2 o'clock. Mia looked at him carefully. Can you come? It's during work time. Ryan thought about his calendar, the projects demanding attention, the momentum he'd built. Then he looked at his daughter's hopeful face and remembered Claire's warning about promises broken, about being absent for things that mattered. I'll be there, he said. Front row. Promise? Promise. Mia smiled and returned to her eggs. Ryan pulled out his phone and blocked December 15th on his calendar with a note. Mia's performance. Non-negotiable. The next morning, Mia's fever was gone. She ate breakfast with her normal enthusiasm and asked if she could go to school. Ryan kept her home one more day to be safe, and they spent it together, reading, watching movies, being quiet in their small apartment while Seattle rain drummed against the windows. That afternoon, while Mia napped, Ryan's phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Brooks, this is Catherine Price from Seattle Tech Magazine. I'm doing a feature on innovation in corporate sustainability, and your name came up. Do you have time for an interview? Ryan blinked. How did you get my name? Claire Vaughn mentioned your work during a phone interview yesterday. She said you're revolutionizing how Vantage Technologies thinks about infrastructure. Ryan felt something warm spread through his chest. Claire had used her interview, probably about her own leadership, to highlight his work. I'd be happy to talk, Ryan said, but Ms. Vaughn is the real innovator here. She's the one who saw potential in a maintenance worker with brilliant ideas but no credentials. Yes, she told me that story too. Catherine's voice held a smile. That's why it's interesting. How about coffee next Tuesday? Pike Place at 10 a.m. Ryan agreed and hung up, slightly dazed. 3 months ago, he'd been invisible. Now tech magazines wanted interviews. The transformation felt surreal. He texted Claire. Tech magazine wants to interview me. Did you set that up? I mentioned your work. They got interested on their own. You deserve the recognition. Thank you. Stop thanking me. Start believing you earned it. Tuesday's interview lasted 90 minutes. Catherine was sharp and thorough, asking detailed questions about Ryan's background, his approach to systems thinking, and what it meant to transition from maintenance to leadership. Ryan answered honestly, including the parts about Sarah's death and choosing Mia over finishing his degree. That's the real story, Catherine said, her recorder still running. Not just the technical innovation, but why you understand what matters. You optimize systems because you learn to optimize your life around what's essential. The article published 2 weeks later under the headline, From Invisible to Essential, How One Father's Sacrifice Became Vantage Technology's Competitive Advantage. It was thoughtful and well-written, balancing technical details with human interest. But it was the opening paragraph that made Ryan's throat tight. Ryan Brooks knows about efficiency because he's lived it. When his wife died of cancer 2 years ago, he had to choose between completing his engineering degree and being present for his 6-year-old daughter. He chose his daughter. That choice made him invisible in corporate terms, just another maintenance worker keeping buildings functional. But Claire Vaughn, CEO of Vantage Technologies, saw something everyone else missed. She saw someone who understood what truly mattered. The article went semi-viral in tech circles. Ryan's LinkedIn received connection requests from industry leaders. 3 companies tried to recruit him. Marcus forwarded the article to the entire executive team with a note. This is what taking smart risks looks like. Claire said nothing publicly, but she texted him privately. Emma would have loved this story. Someone choosing their child over everything else. Someone proving that presence matters more than credentials. Ryan read that message a dozen times, understanding what Claire was really saying, that his choice validated the path she wished she'd taken, that his success with Mia was healing something in Claire that her own success couldn't touch. December arrived with unusual cold for Seattle. The retrofit project on the 22nd floor completed ahead of the revised schedule, and the energy savings exceeded projections by 6%. Ryan's company-wide rollout plan was approved with full funding. But it was the small moments that mattered most. Mia's fever breaking, her performance date approaching, the Sunday afternoons at Claire's house that had become sacred routine. On the first Sunday in December, Mia asked if they could decorate Claire's house for Christmas. "Baby, that's a big ask," Ryan said. "Claire might not want—" "I heard Christmas," Claire called from the kitchen. "What about it?" Mia appeared in the doorway. "Can we put up decorations? You don't have any, and houses should be decorated." Claire's expression flickered. Ryan knew what she was thinking. Emma had loved Christmas. Their house had probably been covered in lights and ornaments once. "I don't have decorations anymore," Claire said carefully. "I got rid of them after Emma passed." "We could get new ones," Mia suggested. "Different ones. So it's not sad." Ryan started to intervene, but Claire spoke first. "Would you help me pick them out?" Mia's face lit up. "Really?" "Really. But nothing too fancy. I'm not very good at decorating." "That's okay. Daddy's not good either, but we do it anyway." They spent the afternoon at a holiday market, the three of them walking through vendor stalls selling ornaments and lights and handmade decorations. Mia approached the task with serious concentration, rejecting anything that looked too traditional. "We want new traditions," she explained to Ryan, "not old ones that make people sad." They settled on simple white lights, wooden ornaments carved with geometric patterns, and a small tree that would fit on Claire's side table. Nothing that would remind Claire of Christmases past. Everything pointing toward something new. Back at Claire's house, they decorated together while music played and rain streaked the windows. Mia directed the placement of every ornament. Ryan strung lights under her supervision. Claire made hot chocolate and watched with an expression Ryan couldn't quite read. When they finished, the small tree glowed warmly in the corner of Claire's living room. Not elaborate, but intentional. Present. "It's perfect," Mia declared. "Now your house is ready for Christmas." Claire pulled Mia into a hug. "Thank you, sweetheart. You're right. Houses should be decorated." Over Mia's head, Claire's eyes met Ryan's. They held grief and gratitude and something else. Something that acknowledged this was more than decorating. This was choosing to participate in life again. To let joy coexist with loss. That evening, after Mia fell asleep in the car on the way home, Ryan carried her up to their apartment, thinking about how the shape of their lives was changing. Claire wasn't just his boss anymore. She was woven into their routine, their Sundays, their small family of survivors trying to build something from grief. His phone buzzed as he settled on the couch. Text from Claire. "Thank you for today, for bringing light back." Ryan stared at the message, his heart doing complicated things in his chest. They were past the point of pretending this was just friendship. Past the point where he could tell himself that what he felt was only gratitude or respect. He was in love with Claire Vaughn. The realization should have terrified him. Instead, it felt like finally admitting something he'd known for weeks, maybe months. But loving her didn't make it less complicated. She was still his boss, still his CEO, still grieving her daughter while helping him raise his. The power dynamics were messy, the potential for disaster obvious. Ryan typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on, "Thank you for letting us in." It was careful and safe and completely inadequate for what he wanted to say. But some truths needed the right moment, and this wasn't it yet. The next 2 weeks were a blur of project meetings and holiday preparations and counting down to Mia's performance. Ryan worked with focused intensity, knowing December 15th was circled on his calendar in permanent ink. Nothing would make him miss it. On December 14th, Marcus summoned Ryan to his office. "We have a problem," Marcus said without preamble. The board moved their quarterly review meeting to tomorrow at 2 p.m. They want a detailed presentation on the rollout progress. All department heads are required to attend. Ryan's stomach dropped. Tomorrow? Marcus, I can't. My daughter has a school performance at 2. Then you'll have to miss it. This is non-negotiable. I promised her I'd be there. Marcus's expression hardened. And I'm telling you, the board expects your presence. This is your project, Brooks. You don't get to skip board meetings because of childcare issues. Ryan felt anger rising in his chest. It's not a childcare issue. It's my daughter's first major performance. I promised her I'd be there. Then you shouldn't have made a promise you couldn't keep. Marcus stood, signaling the conversation was over. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Don't be late. Ryan left Marcus's office with his hands shaking. He'd worked so hard to prove himself, to establish boundaries, to be both present for Mia and successful at work. And now Marcus was forcing him to choose. He went directly to Claire's office. Karen tried to stop him, but Ryan walked past. Claire looked up from her computer. Ryan? What's wrong? He told her about the board meeting, about Marcus's ultimatum, about the promise he'd made to Mia. Claire listened, her expression darkening. Marcus scheduled this meeting? He said the board moved it. The board didn't move anything. I would know. Claire picked up her phone. Karen, get me Marcus Webb. Now. 3 minutes later, Marcus appeared at Claire's office. His confidence faltered when he saw Ryan standing there. You told Ryan the board moved tomorrow's quarterly review, Claire said, her voice dangerously calm. That was a lie. I scheduled that meeting for next Thursday. Marcus's jaw tightened. I assumed you'd want the review earlier given the project's visibility. Don't, Claire stood. You assumed you could test Ryan's commitment by manufacturing a conflict with his personal life. You wanted to see if he'd choose work over his daughter. You wanted him to fail. It's exactly what this is. You've been looking for an excuse to prove I made a mistake promoting him, but Ryan hasn't given you one, so you're trying to create it. Marcus's face reddened. With all due respect, Ms. Vaughn, coddling employees who can't handle standard executive expectations? Standard expectations? Claire's voice cut like ice. You mean working 16-hour days and missing your children's milestones? Sacrificing family for the appearance of dedication? Is that what you want from your team? I want commitment. You want performers who'll destroy themselves proving loyalty. But Claire moved around her desk. Here's what's going to happen. The quarterly review stays scheduled for next Thursday at 2 p.m. Ryan will attend that meeting. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., he'll attend his daughter's school performance. And you'll remember that I'm the CEO, which means I decide what constitutes appropriate expectations for my employees. Marcus's expression hardened. Of course, Ms. Vaughn. He left, the door closing with controlled force. Ryan stood frozen. Claire, you didn't have to... Yes, I did. She turned to face him. Marcus just tried to sabotage you by exploiting the one thing that matters most. Your relationship with Mia. I won't tolerate that. But now he'll understand that I protect my people, all of them, especially the ones who've proven their value. Claire's expression softened. Go to Mia's performance tomorrow. Be present. That's more important than any board meeting. Ryan felt something crack open in his chest. Relief and gratitude and something deeper. Thank you. Stop thanking me and go home. Your daughter needs you to practice being proud of her. Ryan left Vantage Technologies that afternoon feeling like he'd witnessed something important. Claire hadn't just defended him. She'd defended the principle that family mattered, that presence had value, that success without humanity was hollow. She'd defended the things she'd failed to protect with Emma. The next day at 1:30 p.m., Ryan sat in the front row of Mia's school auditorium. The chairs were too small, designed for elementary-aged bodies. Parents filled the space with phones ready to record, and the air hummed with anticipatory energy. Mia had been vibrating with excitement that morning, talking non-stop about her costume and her lines and how nervous excited she felt. Ryan had braided her hair carefully, the way Sarah used to, and told her she'd be amazing. Now he waited for the curtain to open, his heart full of the peculiar anxiety that came with watching your child perform. His phone buzzed, text from Claire. Front row? Of course. Give Mia a hug from me. And Ryan, I'm proud of you. The message made his throat tight. Ryan pocketed his phone as the lights dimmed. The performance was a winter celebration featuring songs and poems from each grade. Mia's first grade class performed third, dressed as snowflakes. Ryan spotted his daughter immediately, center stage, her face serious with concentration. She sang with the others, her young voice blending with the chorus. But it was during her speaking part that Ryan's heart swelled. Mia stepped forward and recited a poem about winter bringing both endings and beginnings, about cold making way for spring, about light returning after darkness. She spoke clearly, confidently, and when she finished, she looked directly at Ryan and smiled. He realized he was crying. The performance ended with all the classes singing together, and then it was over. Parents flooded toward their children. Ryan made his way to Mia, who launched herself into his arms. "Did you see me, Daddy? Did you see my part?" "I saw everything, baby. You were perfect. You kept your promise." "Always," Ryan said, holding her close. "I'll always keep my promises to you." They went for ice cream afterward, even though it was December. Mia recounted every moment of the performance while Ryan listened and thought about how close he'd come to missing this, how Marcus had almost made him break the one promise that mattered most. That evening, after Mia was in bed, Ryan texted Claire. "Thank you for making today possible. You made it possible by being the kind of father who shows up. I just removed an obstacle." Ryan hesitated, then typed, "Can we talk about what's happening between us?" The three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Yes, Sunday." After Mia's in the library, Ryan set down his phone, his heart racing. They were finally going to have the conversation they'd been avoiding, the one that would either move them forward or establish boundaries that kept them safely separate. He didn't know which outcome scared him more. Sunday arrived with crystalline winter sunlight that made Seattle's rain-soaked streets gleam. Ryan drove to Claire's house, with Mia chattering about a book she wanted to find in Emma's library, but his mind was elsewhere. The conversation waiting for him felt like standing at the edge of something, a threshold he could cross or retreat from, but either choice would change everything. Claire answered the door in jeans and a cream sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked younger like this, softer, and Ryan felt his resolve waver. Maybe they should just leave things undefined, comfortable in their careful ambiguity. But Mia was already inside, heading straight for the library, and Claire was looking at Ryan with eyes that said they both knew pretending had run its course. "Coffee?" Claire offered. "Sure." They moved to the kitchen with the awkward awareness of two people about to have a conversation that mattered. Claire poured coffee with hands that weren't quite steady. Ryan accepted the mug and wrapped his fingers around its warmth. "So," Claire said. "So," Ryan echoed. They stood on opposite sides of the kitchen island like it was a negotiating table. The morning light slanted through windows, illuminating dust motes that drifted between them. Claire spoke first. "I've been thinking about this for weeks. What to say, how to say it, whether saying anything was even appropriate." She met his eyes. "I'm your CEO, Ryan. The power dynamics here are complicated." "I know. If this becomes something and it doesn't work out, your career could suffer. People will say I took advantage, that I promoted you for personal reasons." "Is that why you promoted me?" "You know it's not." Claire set down her coffee. "I promoted you because you were brilliant and overlooked and deserved the chance. But now it's more complicated because somewhere along the way, I started caring about you in ways that have nothing to do with HVAC systems." Ryan's heart hammered. "Claire, let me finish." She took a breath. "When Emma died, I convinced myself I'd used up my chance at having a family, that I'd failed so completely with her that I didn't deserve another opportunity. I built Vantage Technologies as penance, as proof that I could succeed at something even if I'd failed at the thing that mattered most." Her voice cracked slightly. "Then you walked into my office, and you were this man who'd made all the choices I didn't make, who'd chosen his daughter over his career, presence over advancement, love over ambition. And I realized I'd spent 5 years building something hollow." "It's not hollow," Ryan said quietly. "Vantage Technologies employs thousands of people. You've created something that matters. But I didn't do it for the right reasons. I did it because I was running from grief. Claire moved around the island, closing the distance between them. Being around you and Mia, watching you build a life from loss instead of running from it, it made me remember why any of this matters. You reminded me that success without connection is just sophisticated loneliness. She stopped a few feet away, close enough that Ryan could see the vulnerability in her expression. So yes, Claire continued, I care about you. More than I should. More than is probably wise. And I don't know what to do about it because I'm terrified of hurting you, of damaging your career, of failing again at something that matters. Ryan set down his coffee and closed the remaining distance between them. Can I tell you what I'm terrified of? Claire nodded. I'm terrified that I'm betraying Sarah by falling for someone else, that Mia will think I'm trying to replace her mother, that I'm being selfish by wanting something for myself when I should be focused entirely on being her father. Ryan's voice roughened. But I'm also terrified of being so cautious that I miss something real, something that could be good for all of us. You're falling for me? Claire's voice was barely above a whisper. I fell weeks ago, maybe months. I've just been too scared to admit it. Claire's eyes shimmered with tears she didn't let fall. I don't want to be a complication in your life. You're not a complication. Ryan struggled for the right words. You're someone who sees me, really sees me, not just as a father or an employee or the invisible guy fixing broken systems. You see all of it, the grief and the hope and the man trying to figure out how to keep living. I see you because you're worth seeing. So are you, Claire. You're not just the untouchable CEO or the woman who lost her daughter. You're someone who's choosing to feel again despite how much it hurts. Someone who's brave enough to let people in even after loss taught you how dangerous that is. They stood inches apart now, the air between them charged with everything unspoken. This could get messy, Claire said. Probably. People will talk. Marcus will definitely talk. Let them. Your career is secure because I'm good at my job, not because you and I... Ryan paused. Not because of this. Claire reached up and touched his face, her palm warm against his cheek. I haven't done this in so long. I don't know if I remember how. Neither do I. That's probably a good place to start. Two people figuring it out together. Ryan covered her hand with his. What about Mia? We need to think about what's best for her. Mia told me 2 weeks ago that she hopes you and I fall in love because then we could all be sad together, but also happy together. Claire smiled through threatening tears. She's wiser than both of us. She is. Ryan's thumb traced Claire's cheekbone. So what do? We take it slow. We're honest with Mia. We maintain professional boundaries at work. Claire leaned into his touch. And we stop pretending that what's happening between us isn't real. Ryan leaned forward, giving Claire every opportunity to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met softly, tentatively, like people learning a language they'd almost forgotten. The kiss was gentle and careful and full of promise. When they separated, Claire was crying silently. I didn't think I'd feel this again. Neither did I. They stood together in Claire's kitchen, holding each other while morning light painted them gold, and it felt like healing. Not forgetting Sarah or Emma, but learning that hearts could hold both grief and new love, that the dead didn't require loyalty expressed through loneliness. Daddy? Claire? Mia's voice called from the library. Can you help me reach a book? They separated, smiling at the interruption. Claire wiped her eyes. Ryan straightened his shirt. Then they walked together toward Mia's voice. And something about that felt significant, moving forward together toward the child who'd been the bridge between them. Mia stood on tiptoe, reaching for a book on a high shelf. She turned when they entered, her perceptive eyes moving between them with interest. You look different, she observed. Ryan's heart stopped. Different how? Happy different. Like when you smile for real, not just because you're supposed to. Mia pointed at the book. Can you get that one? Claire reached up and retrieved it, a story about friendship and adventure. As she handed it to Mia, Ryan watched his daughter study Claire's face with that unnerving 6-year-old perception. Are you and Daddy together now? Mia asked with the bluntness only children could manage. Like boyfriend and girlfriend? Ryan and Claire exchanged glances. They'd agreed to be honest, but neither had expected the conversation quite this soon. Claire crouched down to Mia's level. Would that bother you if we were? Mia considered this seriously. Will you be nice to my daddy? Very nice. I promise. And you won't leave like Mommy did? The question hit Ryan like a fist. He'd known Mia worried about abandonment, but hearing it stated so plainly made his chest ache. Claire's expression softened with understanding. I can't promise I'll never leave, sweetheart. None of us knows what will happen, but I can promise that I care about you and your daddy very much. And I'll try my hardest to be here for as long as you want me. Mia processed this with the gravity of a child who'd learned that forever wasn't guaranteed. Then she nodded. Okay, you can be together, but if you get married, can I help pick the dress? Ryan choked on surprised laughter. Baby, I know, Daddy, but if you do, for planning purposes. Claire pulled Mia into a hug, her shoulders shaking with suppressed amusement. For planning purposes, absolutely. You'd be the first person we'd ask. Satisfied, Mia settled into the reading nook with her book. Ryan and Claire retreated to the doorway, both trying not to laugh. That went better than expected, Ryan whispered. She's already planning our wedding. Should I be concerned about how fast she got there? She's an optimist. It's refreshing. Claire's hand found his, though we should probably figure out how to navigate this at work before Mia starts designing invitations. Monday morning brought that complication into sharp focus. Ryan arrived at Vantage Technologies acutely aware that everything had shifted. He and Claire had agreed to maintain professional distance at the office. No special treatment, no obvious signs of their relationship. But keeping that distance proved harder than anticipated. Claire had an early meeting with investors. Ryan saw her in the lobby, surrounded by executives in expensive suits, and she caught his eye for just a moment. The connection arced between them like electricity before she looked away, her professional mask firmly in place. Ryan took the elevator to his floor, trying to shake the feeling that everyone could somehow see what had changed, that his colleagues would take one look at him and know. Karen appeared at his office door at 9:30. Ms. Vaughn wants to see you. Conference room B. Ryan's stomach flipped. Now? She said when convenient, but with Ms. Vaughn, convenient usually means immediately. Ryan followed Karen to the conference room, his mind racing. What if this was a mistake? What if being together made everything at work impossible? Claire was alone when he entered, reviewing documents spread across the table. She looked up, and for a moment her expression was soft. Then it shifted back to professional. Close the door, she said. Ryan did, suddenly nervous. Claire gathered the documents into a neat stack. We need to discuss disclosure policies. Disclosure? Corporate policy requires executives to report personal relationships that might present conflicts of interest. Given that you report to Marcus, who reports to me, there's a chain of command issue. She met his eyes. I'm not trying to complicate this, but we need to handle it correctly. Ryan sat down. What does that mean? It means we disclose to HR. They'll review the situation and likely recommend that your reporting structure changes, probably moving you to report to someone outside my direct oversight. That's fine. I don't want special treatment. I know you don't. Claire's voice softened. But Ryan, this will be public knowledge. Everyone in the company will know. There will be talk, speculation, probably some resentment from people who think you advanced because of personal connections. I can handle talk. Can you? Because it won't be kind. People will question every decision I've made regarding your career. They'll say I promoted you inappropriately, that our relationship invalidates your accomplishments. Ryan heard the concern in her voice. Not for herself, but for him. Are you having second thoughts? No. But I want you to understand what you're agreeing to. Being with me publicly means scrutiny, pressure, and people eager to prove you don't deserve what you've earned. I've been invisible for 6 years, Claire. Let them look. Let them question. I know why I'm here, and it's not because I'm sleeping with the CEO. Ryan's voice was firm. I'm here because I'm good at what I do. Because you gave me a chance to prove it. If people can't separate our professional relationship from our personal one, that's their problem. Claire smiled slightly. When did you become so confident? About 3 months ago, someone told me to stop being invisible. Smart person. The smartest. They held each other's gaze, and the air shifted, professional boundaries dissolving into something more intimate. "We should probably stop looking at each other like this at work," Claire said quietly. "Probably." Neither of them looked away. Karen's knock interrupted the moment. "Ms. Vaughn, your 10 o'clock is here." Claire stood, her professional demeanor snapping back into place with practiced ease. "Thank you, Karen. Ryan, we'll continue this discussion later. Please draft a summary of the Phase 2 rollout timeline for review." "Of course, Ms. Vaughn." The formality felt absurd given that they'd been kissing in her kitchen 24 hours ago. But this was the dance they'd have to learn, separating work from everything else, keeping professional and personal in their appropriate boxes. Ryan returned to his office and tried to focus on work. He drafted the rollout timeline, reviewed energy efficiency data, and responded to emails. But his mind kept drifting to Claire, to the conversation ahead with HR, to how their lives were about to get significantly more complicated. At lunch, Marcus appeared at Ryan's door. "Walk with me," Marcus said. It wasn't a request. Ryan followed him to the elevator, then down to the lobby coffee shop. Marcus ordered black coffee. Ryan got the same, though he didn't particularly want it. They sat at a corner table away from other employees. "I owe you an apology," Marcus said without preamble. Ryan blinked. "For what?" "For the board meeting manipulation. For testing you unnecessarily. For—" Marcus paused, clearly uncomfortable with whatever came next. "For letting my ego cloud my judgment about your abilities." "I don't understand." Claire called me into her office Friday afternoon. She was very clear about her disappointment in my leadership approach. Marcus's expression was rueful. She pointed out that I've been so focused on credentials and traditional career paths that I've been blind to actual talent. She's right. He took a sip of coffee. "Your work is exceptional, Brooks. The rollout project is ahead of schedule and under budget. The board presentation was one of the strongest I've seen from a junior executive. You've earned your position through merit, not favoritism." "Thank you," Ryan said carefully, waiting for the other shoe to drop. "But there's something you should know. There's talk. About you and Claire." Ryan's spine stiffened. "What kind of talk?" "The inevitable kind. People notice things. The way she defends you, the time you spend together, the fact that she's more animated in meetings when you're present." Marcus held up a hand before Ryan could respond. "I'm not making accusations. I'm telling you what others are saying. And if there's any truth to it, you both need to be prepared for fallout. What others are saying doesn't change the quality of my work." "No, it doesn't. But perception matters in corporate environments, especially when one person holds significant power over another's career." Marcus leaned forward. "I don't care about your personal life, Brooks. But I do care about this company and about the teams I manage. If there's something happening between you and Claire, handle it properly. Disclose it. Let HR manage the conflict of interest. Don't give people ammunition to dismiss your legitimate accomplishments." Ryan met Marcus's eyes and saw something unexpected. Not hostility, but genuine advice from someone who'd navigated corporate politics longer. "Thank you for the warning," Ryan said. "You're a good employee, Brooks. Maybe even a great one. Don't let complications derail that." Marcus stood, leaving his barely touched coffee on the table. "And for what it's worth, Claire seems happier lately, more present. If you're part of that, maybe the complications are worth it." He left Ryan sitting alone with 2 cups of coffee and the weight of what needed to happen next. Ryan texted Claire, "We need to talk to HR, soon." Her response came immediately. "Already scheduled, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., together." The meeting with HR was handled by Jennifer Marsh, the same woman who'd processed Ryan's promotion paperwork months ago. She listened to Claire and Ryan explain their relationship with professional neutrality, taking notes and asking clarifying questions about timeline, decision-making processes, and current reporting structures. "This falls under our conflict of interest policy," Jennifer said, reviewing her notes. "Given that Mr. Brooks reports to Senior VP Webb, who reports directly to you, Ms. Vaughn, there's a clear chain of command issue." "I understand," Claire said. "What are our options?" "Realistically, Ryan needs to report to someone outside your direct oversight. I'd recommend transferring him to report to Sandra Chen in operations. She's a senior VP at your level, Marcus, so there's no subordinate relationship to Claire." Jennifer looked at Ryan. This doesn't diminish your role or authority. Your project scope remains the same. You'd simply have a different supervisor for administrative purposes. That works for me, Ryan said. There's one more thing. Jennifer's expression became more serious. Once this is formally disclosed, it becomes semi-public knowledge within executive circles. People will talk. There may be accusations of favoritism regarding your promotion and project assignments. We anticipated that, Claire said calmly. Good. Because HR will conduct a review of all decisions made regarding Mr. Brooks's employment to ensure proper protocols were followed. If we find anything questionable, we'll need to address it. Ryan felt a flash of concern, but Claire remained composed. Review whatever you need. Every decision regarding Ryan's employment was based on merit and documented accordingly. Jennifer nodded. I believe that. But we need the paper trail to prove it to anyone who questions it. She closed her laptop. I'll process the reporting structure change and notify the relevant parties. Expect some questions from colleagues. My advice is to keep responses brief and professional. After the meeting, Ryan and Claire walked separately back to their floors, maintaining the appearance of professional distance even though everything had just become official. Ryan's phone buzzed, text from Claire. That went better than I expected. Did you think it would go badly? I thought there might be more resistance, more judgment. Maybe people are more understanding than we give them credit for. Or maybe they're just waiting to see if we fail. Ryan stared at that message, understanding the pressure Claire felt. She'd spent 5 years building credibility as CEO. Now she was risking that reputation on a relationship with someone she'd promoted unconventionally. We won't fail, he typed back. Not if we're honest and keep being good at our jobs. When did you become the optimistic one? I learned from a 6-year-old who thinks we should already be planning the wedding. Claire's response was a laughing emoji followed by, smart kid. The news spread through executive circles within days. Ryan felt the shift in how people looked at him, curiosity, speculation, and in some cases barely concealed resentment. A few colleagues who'd been friendly became distant. Others made pointed comments about unconventional career advancement. Ryan ignored it and focused on his work. The Phase 2 rollout was complex, requiring coordination across multiple buildings and departments. He threw himself into the logistics, letting results speak louder than gossip. But it was harder for Claire. As CEO, every decision she made was scrutinized, and now people were reviewing her past choices through the lens of her relationship with Ryan. Board members asked pointed questions. Investors expressed concern about judgment and objectivity. Ryan watched her handle it with graceful professionalism, never defending herself but also never apologizing. She presented facts, documented her decision-making processes, and remained unshakable in her position that Ryan's employment had been merit-based. A week after the HR disclosure, Claire was called into an emergency board meeting. Ryan knew because Karen appeared at his office looking worried. It's about you, Karen said quietly. Someone raised concerns to the board about Ms. Vaughn's judgment. Who? I don't know, but they're questioning the appropriateness of your promotion given your relationship. Ryan felt rage building in his chest. My promotion happened months before we got together. I know, but they're suggesting she promoted you because she was already interested in you romantically, that her judgment was compromised from the beginning. That's not... Ryan stopped. Getting angry wouldn't help. What can I do? Nothing. Just wait. Ms. Vaughn can handle the board. But waiting was torture. Ryan sat in his office trying to work while knowing that upstairs, Claire was defending both their professional relationship and their personal one. The woman who'd given him a chance when he was invisible was now being questioned because she'd seen potential others had missed. 2 hours later, Claire texted, "Can you come to my office?" Ryan made it there in 3 minutes. Claire sat at her desk looking tired but not defeated. What happened? Ryan asked. Marcus happened. Marcus? He went to the board, presented a full report documenting your work performance, your project outcomes, and the timeline of our relationship. He testified that every decision I made regarding your employment was justified and that our personal relationship developed after you'd already proven yourself professionally. Ryan sat down, stunned. Marcus defended us? Vigorously. He told the board that if they couldn't see past office gossip to recognize exceptional work, they didn't deserve to oversee this company. Claire smiled slightly. Apparently, he can be quite forceful when motivated. Why would he do that? Because despite being traditional and occasionally difficult, Marcus has integrity. He knows your work is legitimate. He also knows that penalizing me for having a personal life while expecting male executives to maintain work-life balance would be hypocritical. Claire stood and walked to her window. The board accepted his testimony. No formal action will be taken regarding your employment or our relationship. But Ryan, they made it clear they're watching. If your performance slips, if there's any hint of favoritism or conflict of interest, they'll revisit this decision. Then I'll make sure my performance doesn't slip. It's not just about you. It's about us. She turned to face him. This relationship makes both of us vulnerable. Your mistakes reflect on my judgment. My decisions regarding you will always be scrutinized. We're operating under a microscope now. Ryan crossed the room and took her hands. I know, but we're good at what we do, Claire. Both of us. Let them watch. They'll see two people doing excellent work who also happen to care about each other. You make it sound simple. It is simple. The complicated part is everything we're adding to it. Worry about perception, fear of judgment, letting other people's opinions matter more than our own truth. Claire squeezed his hands. How are you so steady about this? Because I've already lost everything that mattered once. I'm not going to lose it again because I was too scared to fight for it. She pulled him into a hug, and they stood together in her office while Seattle spread out below them, 42 floors above the basement corridor where Ryan had spent 6 years being invisible. Thank you, Claire whispered, for being brave enough for both of us. I learned from the best. They separated reluctantly, aware that even this simple embrace would fuel gossip if anyone saw. The price of their relationship was constant awareness, calculated distance, and the knowledge that every interaction would be interpreted through the lens of their personal connection. But some things were worth the cost. That evening, Ryan picked up Mia from Mrs. Chen's and drove home through darkening Seattle streets. Christmas lights decorated houses and businesses, transforming the familiar landscape into something magical. Daddy, can we get a tree this weekend? Mia asked. A real one that smells like forest? Absolutely. And can Claire help us decorate? Ryan glanced in the rearview mirror at his daughter's hopeful face. Would you like that? Yeah, she's good at decorating, and also she's good at being with us. The simple statement carried so much weight. Mia had accepted Claire into their small family with the easy grace of children who understood that love didn't have limited capacity, that caring about Claire didn't mean forgetting Sarah. She is good at being with us, Ryan agreed. Are you going to marry her? Ryan almost swerved. Baby, we just started being together. Marriage is a long way off. But you will eventually, right? Because you love her. Ryan paused. Did he love Claire? Or was it too soon to call it that? They'd been officially together less than 2 weeks, but he'd been falling for months. And love wasn't measured in time, but in depth of connection, in shared understanding, in the way someone could see your broken pieces and choose to stand beside you anyway. Yeah, Ryan said quietly. I love her. Good, because she loves you too, I can tell. You're very wise for 6 years old. I know, Mia said matter-of-factly. Mrs. Chen says I'm an old soul. They spent the evening at home doing homework and making dinner and reading stories before bed. Normal domestic routines that felt precious in their ordinariness. After Mia was asleep, Ryan sat on his couch bed and called Claire. Hey, she answered. Everything okay? Yeah, I just wanted to hear your voice. Long day? The longest. But Marcus saved us, which I'm still processing. Claire laughed softly. He surprised me too. Apparently he has depths. Apparently. Ryan paused. Mia asked if I was going to marry you. Silence on the line. Then, that's quite a question. I told her it was too soon. But Ryan, Claire's voice was careful. But she asked if I love you. What did you say? I said yes. More silence. Ryan's heart raced. Too soon? He asked. Probably, but also accurate. Claire's voice was soft. I love you, Ryan. I didn't plan to. I definitely didn't expect to, but I do. I love you too. The words hung in the phone line between them, simple and profound. We're doing this backwards, Claire said. We fell in love before we even went on a proper date. Want to fix that? Saturday night? I'd like that. Though finding a babysitter, Mrs. Chen already volunteered. Apparently the neighborhood gossip network is very invested in our relationship. Claire laughed. Where are you taking me? Somewhere nice? Somewhere that requires real clothes and actual planning. Somewhere that's not your kitchen or my couch. Fancy. You deserve fancy. So do you. They talked for another hour about nothing important and everything that mattered. When Ryan finally hung up, he felt lighter than he had in years. The complications didn't disappear, the scrutiny, the pressure, the constant awareness of being watched. But they felt manageable now, because he wasn't facing them alone. Saturday arrived with unexpected sunshine. Ryan spent the morning helping Mia clean their apartment and pick out her outfit for staying with Mrs. Chen. She'd somehow accumulated opinions about his date outfit and insisted he wear the blue shirt that makes your eyes look nice. At 6 p.m., Ryan knocked on Claire's door wearing the blue shirt and actual dress pants he'd had to iron twice. She answered in a simple black dress that transformed her from CEO to someone breathtaking. You look beautiful, Ryan said. You clean up pretty well yourself. They drove to a restaurant overlooking Elliott Bay, expensive but not ostentatious, intimate without being claustrophobic. The hostess seated them at a table by the window where they could watch boats move across dark water. This is strange, Claire said after they'd ordered wine. Strange how? We've spent hours together. We've shared our worst grief and biggest fears, but this, sitting across from each other on an actual date, feels like starting over. Maybe that's good. We get to have both, the deep connection we've already built and the fun of discovering everything else. They talked through dinner about things they'd never discussed before. Claire's childhood in a small Oregon town, her journey to building Vantage Technologies, Ryan's years studying engineering, meeting Sarah in college, the early days of being parents together. They shared stories about Emma and Sarah, not dwelling in grief but celebrating the people they'd loved. It felt important, honoring the past while building something new. After dinner, they walked along the waterfront despite December's cold. Ryan took Claire's hand and she leaned into him. I was terrified of this, Claire admitted, of feeling this way about someone again. After Emma, I convinced myself that loving people was too dangerous, that loss hurt too much to risk again. What changed your mind? You did. Watching you be present for Mia despite your own grief. Seeing that it was possible to keep living, keep loving, even after devastating loss. She stopped walking and turned to face him. You showed me that protecting yourself from pain also means protecting yourself from joy. And I'm tired of being safe. Ryan cupped her face in his hands. I'm scared too. Scared of failing you, of not being enough, of losing this. Then we'll be scared together, and we'll choose courage anyway. They kissed on the waterfront while Seattle glittered around them, and it felt like a promise. Not that everything would be easy, but that they'd face the complications together. When Ryan dropped Claire off at her house hours later, she said, "Thank you for tonight, for reminding me what this feels like. We should do it again, maybe with less fear and more confidence. Practice makes perfect." Ryan drove home feeling like something fundamental had shifted. They'd crossed from possibility into commitment, from maybe into yes. The road ahead would have challenges, board scrutiny, corporate politics, the careful balance of being partners while maintaining professional boundaries. But they'd faced harder things than this. Loss had taught them both that nothing worth having came without risk. The next morning, Ryan woke to his phone buzzing. Text from Claire. Mia asked yesterday if we could all get a Christmas tree together. What do you think? Ryan smiled. I think that sounds perfect. Your place or mine? He thought about Claire's beautiful but sterile house, about Emma's library waiting for life, about Sunday afternoons that had become their shared tradition. Yours, he typed. Let's fill it with something living. See you at 2. Ryan showed the message to Mia over breakfast. Her face lit up. Are we going to live at Claire's house? She asked. No, baby. We're just getting her a Christmas tree. But eventually, when you get married? Ryan looked at his 6-year-old daughter, who'd somehow become the family optimist despite, or maybe because of, everything she'd lost. Maybe eventually, he said. Would that be okay with you? Mia considered this seriously. Will I still have my room? And can we bring Mommy's pictures? Ryan's throat tightened. Of course. Always. Claire knows Mommy was important. She'd never ask us to forget her. Okay then, I think it would be good. Claire's house is really big, and she seems lonely there by herself. That afternoon, they drove to a Christmas tree lot and spent an hour finding the perfect tree, 7 feet tall, full, and fragrant, the kind of tree that would transform a space. They loaded it into Claire's SUV with the help of lot attendants, then drove to her house in Laurelhurst. Decorating took hours. They strung lights while music played, hung ornaments carefully, debated about the correct tinsel distribution. Mia directed operations with the authority of someone who'd been planning this moment for weeks. When they finally finished, they stood back to admire their work. The tree filled Claire's living room with light and life, transforming the space from beautiful but cold into somewhere warm, somewhere that felt like home. It's perfect, Mia announced. Now we need hot chocolate. While Claire and Mia made hot chocolate in the kitchen, Ryan stood alone in the living room looking at the tree. Light reflected in the windows, doubling its glow. And he thought about how far he'd come from that night months ago when he'd opened the wrong door. Nothing about this journey had been simple. Grief never was. But somewhere between loss and healing, between invisible and seen, between closed off and open, he'd found something unexpected. He'd found love that honored the past while building toward the future. Found a woman who understood that broken things could still be beautiful. Found hope that felt sustainable instead of fragile. Claire appeared beside him, sliding her arm around his waist. What are you thinking? That I'm grateful I opened the wrong door. Best mistake you ever made. Second best, Ryan corrected. The best was saying yes when you offered me a chance. I think we can call it a tie. Mia emerged from the kitchen carrying 3 mugs of hot chocolate with elaborate precision. They settled together on Claire's couch, Ryan, Claire, and Mia, watching the tree lights twinkle while Seattle darkened outside. And for the first time since Sarah died, Ryan felt like they were building something that might last. Not replacing what was lost, but creating something new from the pieces that remained. Something worth fighting for. The complications Ryan and Claire had anticipated arrived in January with corporate precision. A rival tech company attempted a hostile acquisition of Vantage Technologies, claiming the company had lost strategic direction under Claire's leadership. The timing was calculated, attacking when board scrutiny was already heightened, when questions about Claire's judgment were still circulating through investor networks. Ryan learned about it from Marcus, who appeared at his office door at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday, looking grim. Emergency executive meeting in 20 minutes, Marcus said. You're included. It's bad. The conference room was packed with department heads and senior leadership when Ryan arrived. Claire stood at the head of the table, her expression unreadable but her posture rigid with tension. She acknowledged Ryan with a brief nod, professional distance maintained even in crisis. Tech Vanguard made an unsolicited offer to our shareholders last night, Claire began without preamble. They're offering 30% above current stock price and claiming Vantage Technologies has stagnated under my leadership. She pulled up a presentation showing Tech Vanguard's public statements. Ryan's stomach tightened as he read the carefully worded attacks on Claire's judgment, her decision-making, her personal life creating distractions from company priorities. They were using his relationship with Claire as evidence of her compromised leadership. This is character assassination, Marcus said flatly. They're exploiting office gossip to undermine Claire's credibility with shareholders. It's effective character assassination, another executive countered. 3 major investors have already indicated they're considering the offer. Claire remained calm, but Ryan could see the tension in her jaw. We have 2 weeks to convince shareholders that Vantage Technologies' future is stronger with current leadership than with Tech Vanguard's acquisition. That means demonstrating concrete value, strategic vision, and unified executive commitment. Her eyes swept the room. I need every department to present their strongest performance metrics and future projections. We're making the case that this company is thriving, not stagnating. The meeting dissolved into strategic planning. Ryan sat quietly, his mind racing. Tech Vanguard wasn't just attacking Claire. They were attacking her through him. Every choice she'd made regarding his career was being weaponized against her. After the meeting, Ryan caught up with Claire in the hallway. "This is because of me," he said quietly. "They're using our relationship to—" "Don't." Claire's voice was sharp. "Don't give them that power. This acquisition attempt was coming regardless. They're just using whatever ammunition is available. But if you hadn't what? Accepted a job you deserved? Built something valuable? Fallen in love with me?" She glanced around to ensure they were alone. "Ryan, hostile acquisitions happen. Corporate politics are vicious. None of this is your fault." "Then why does it feel like I've destroyed everything you built?" Claire's expression softened. "You haven't destroyed anything. If anything, you've reminded me why I built it in the first place. Now help me save it." Over the next week, Ryan worked 18-hour days preparing his department's presentation. The building systems optimization project had exceeded every projection. Energy savings were 43% higher than predicted, and the rollout timeline was 3 weeks ahead of schedule. His work represented exactly the kind of innovation and strategic thinking that proved Vantage Technologies was thriving. But the personal attacks continued. Industry publications ran thinly veiled articles questioning Claire's judgment. Anonymous sources claimed she'd let personal entanglements compromise her leadership. Social media amplified the narrative that Vantage Technologies needed new direction. Ryan watched Claire handle it with grace that bordered on superhuman. She gave interviews, met with investors, presented data with unshakable confidence. But at night, when they talked on the phone after Mia was asleep, he could hear the exhaustion in her voice. "I'm sorry you're going through this," Ryan said one night. "I'm not. It's terrible, but I'm not sorry." Claire's voice was firm despite her fatigue. "Building this company while running from grief made me good at my job, but terrible at living. You changed that. You and Mia reminded me that success without connection is just sophisticated emptiness. If Tech Vanguard's attack forces me to defend that publicly, then maybe that's what needs to happen. What if the shareholders don't agree? Then I lose the company. But I won't lose what matters anymore. I already made that mistake once with Emma. I'm not making it again." The determination in her voice steadied Ryan. They were in this together, for better or worse. The shareholder meeting was scheduled for Thursday afternoon. Every major investor would attend, along with Tech Vanguard representatives making their case for acquisition. Claire would present Vantage Technologies' counter-argument, demonstrating why current leadership offered better long-term value. Ryan would present his department's results as evidence of the company's innovative trajectory. Wednesday night, Ryan couldn't sleep. He lay on his couch bed reviewing his presentation while anxiety churned in his stomach. Tomorrow's meeting would determine whether Claire kept the company she'd built, whether his work validated her faith in him or proved her critics right. His phone buzzed at 2 a.m. Text from Claire. "You awake?" "Can't sleep." "Me neither. Come over?" Ryan checked on Mia, deeply asleep, then texted Mrs. Chen, asking if she could listen for Mia overnight in case of emergency. Mrs. Chen's response was immediate. "Already on my way. Go be with your girl." 20 minutes later, Ryan stood on Claire's doorstep. She answered in pajamas, her hair loose, her face free of the professional mask she wore for everyone else. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." They moved to her living room where the Christmas tree still glowed. Neither spoke for several minutes, just sat together on the couch, finding comfort in proximity. "I keep thinking about Emma," Claire finally said. "About all the moments I missed because I was building this company. Her 6th birthday, her last Christmas. The afternoon she died because I was on a business call." She turned to face Ryan. "And I keep thinking that if I lose Vantage Technologies tomorrow, maybe that's the universe's way of saying I built it on the wrong foundation, that I should have been building a life instead of a company. You can have both, Claire. You deserve both." "Do I? I failed Emma so completely. I don't know if I deserve another chance at getting it right." Ryan took her hands. "You didn't fail Emma. You were fighting to save her the only way you knew how. That's not failure. It's love expressed through desperation. But I wasn't there when she needed me most. And you've spent 5 years punishing yourself for it. At some point, you have to forgive yourself for being human." Ryan's voice was gentle but firm. "Emma wouldn't want you living in penance. She'd want you living, really living. That's what Mia would want from me if something happened to her. Tears slid down Claire's face. When did you get so wise about grief? I learned from someone who was brave enough to feel again despite how much it hurt. Claire pulled him into a kiss that tasted like salt and hope. They held each other on the couch while the Christmas tree lights painted them in warm colors, and Ryan felt the fear dissolve into something steadier. Whatever happened tomorrow, they'd face it together. Thursday arrived gray and cold. Ryan dropped Mia at school with extra hugs and drove to Vantage Technologies with his stomach in knots. The shareholder meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. in the building's largest conference hall, a space designed for quarterly presentations but now repurposed for corporate warfare. Ryan spent the morning reviewing his presentation compulsively. Marcus stopped by at noon. "You ready?" Marcus asked. "No." "Good. Means you care about getting it right." Marcus sat down. "Listen, Brooks, whatever happens today, your work stands on its own merit. You built something valuable. Don't let anyone diminish that. Even if Claire loses the company because she promoted me? Claire's not losing anything because of you. If she loses, it's because hostile acquisitions are legal and shareholders sometimes choose short-term gains over long-term vision." Marcus's voice was firm. "But she's not going to lose. Your presentation will prove that Vantage Technologies is innovating faster than Tech Vanguard ever could." At 1:30 p.m., Ryan made his way to the conference hall. Shareholders filled the seats, investors who'd helped build Vantage Technologies, and others who saw only potential profit in selling. Tech Vanguard representatives sat in the front row looking confident and predatory. Claire stood near the presentation screen talking to her legal team. She looked composed and professional, every inch the CEO who'd built a company through strategic brilliance. But when she caught Ryan's eye across the room, he saw the vulnerability beneath her armor. The meeting was called to order at 2 p.m. sharp. Tech Vanguard's CEO spoke first, presenting their acquisition offer and vision for Vantage Technologies' future. He was polished and persuasive, painting a picture of expanded markets and increased shareholder value. Then he pivoted to questions about current leadership. Vantage Technologies has seen impressive growth, he acknowledged, but recent concerns about executive judgment and personal entanglements affecting professional decisions raise questions about long-term stability under current management. The implication was clear without being explicitly stated. Claire's relationship with Ryan was being positioned as evidence of compromised judgment. Ryan felt rage building but forced it down. Getting emotional wouldn't help. Claire took the floor with practiced confidence. She presented 5 years of financial data showing consistent growth, strategic acquisitions, and market expansion. She highlighted innovations in technology development and operational efficiency. She made the compelling case that Vantage Technologies was thriving precisely because of her leadership. Then she addressed the personal attacks directly. "There have been questions raised about my judgment, particularly regarding personnel decisions." Claire's voice was steady. "I'd like to address those directly by introducing Ryan Brooks, our building systems optimization specialist, who will present the results of a project that demonstrates exactly the kind of strategic innovation that defines Vantage Technologies' competitive advantage." She looked at Ryan. "Ryan?" Ryan stood and walked to the front of the room with his laptop. He connected to the presentation system, pulled up his first slide, and faced a room full of people who'd already decided he was evidence of Claire's poor judgment. 18 months ago, I was a maintenance worker in this building, Ryan began. I had an incomplete engineering degree and no corporate credentials. Ms. Vaughn promoted me because she recognized that technical expertise and innovative thinking aren't limited to people with traditional qualifications. He clicked to his first data slide. This graph shows Vantage Technologies' energy expenditure before and after implementing the Building Systems Optimization Project. We've reduced costs by 43%. That's $1.2 million annually across our current properties. Ryan walked through his presentation methodically, showing energy savings, efficiency improvements, and projected long-term value. He explained the technical innovations his team had developed and how they position Vantage Technologies as sustainability leaders. This project will save approximately $8 million over the next 5 years, Ryan concluded. But more importantly, it demonstrates that Ms. Vaughn's leadership style, identifying overlooked talent, taking strategic risks, Investing in innovation over convention creates measurable competitive advantage. He paused, meeting the eyes of shareholders and tech vanguard representatives. My promotion wasn't a lapse in judgment. It was exactly the kind of unconventional thinking that makes this company valuable. And Ms. Vaughn's personal life has zero bearing on her ability to recognize talent and drive strategic growth. Ryan closed his presentation and returned to his seat. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Marcus stood. "I'd like to add something. I initially opposed Mr. Brooks's promotion. I thought it was impulsive and inappropriate. I was wrong." He faced the shareholders. Ryan Brooks has delivered exceptional results through technical innovation and strategic thinking. His work represents exactly what makes Vantage Technologies worth keeping independent. If we allow personal gossip to overshadow professional accomplishments, we're not making sound business decisions, we're just being petty. Several other executives stood to speak in support of Claire's leadership. They presented their own department results, their strategic initiatives, their vision for Vantage Technologies' future. One by one, they built a comprehensive case that the company was thriving under current management. The Tech Vanguard CEO tried to counter, but his arguments were weakening. Financial data didn't lie. Innovation metrics were measurable. And the unified executive support for Claire's leadership was impossible to dismiss as bias. After 3 hours of presentations and debate, the shareholders voted. The acquisition was rejected by 62%. Claire would keep her company. Ryan watched her face as the results were announced. Her professional composure held, but he saw the relief in her eyes. She'd fought for what she'd built, and she'd won. After the meeting, shareholders and executives filtered out, congratulating Claire on the victory. Ryan hung back, giving her space to accept praise and handle the political aftermath. Marcus approached him. "That was a hell of a presentation, Brooks." "Thank you. For standing up today. You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. You're good at your job. Claire's good at hers. Everything else is noise." Marcus extended his hand. "I'm glad she kept the company, and I'm glad you're part of this team." They shook hands, and Ryan felt something settle. He'd been accepted, not because of his relationship with Claire, but despite it. His work had spoken loudly enough to overcome the gossip. Claire finally made her way to Ryan as the room emptied. "We need to talk," she said quietly. "My office." Ryan followed her upstairs, his heart racing. Now that the crisis was over, what came next? They'd survived the acquisition attempt, but the underlying complications remained. The power dynamics, the scrutiny, the challenges of maintaining professional boundaries while building a personal relationship. In Claire's office, she closed the door and leaned against it. "That was terrifying," she admitted. "You were perfect." "I was desperate. There's a difference." She moved to her desk and pulled out a document. "I've been thinking about something. Before today, before the acquisition attempt, before any of this got complicated." She handed him the document. Ryan scanned it. A resignation letter. "Claire, what?" "I'm not submitting it, yet, but I want you to understand what I'm willing to do." She met his eyes. "If our relationship continues to put you at risk professionally, if being with me means constant scrutiny and attacks on your accomplishments, I'll step down as CEO. I'll find someone else to run Vantage Technologies so we can be together without these complications." Ryan stared at her. "You'd give up your company?" "I'd give up running it. I'd still be majority shareholder, still involved in strategic direction. But yes, I'd step back from daily operations if it meant protecting you and what we're building together." "Claire, I can't let you." "It's not about letting me. It's about choosing what matters." Claire's voice was firm. "I spent 5 years putting this company above everything else. It cost me the time I had left with Emma. I won't make that mistake again. I won't sacrifice love for corporate success." Ryan set down the resignation letter. "I love you for offering this, but you're not stepping down." "Ryan, you just defended this company brilliantly. You proved your leadership was sound. You won." He moved closer. "And you won because you made unconventional choices that paid off. Stepping down now would validate everyone who said your judgment was compromised. But if staying means you face constant scrutiny, then I face it. We both do. Together." Ryan took her hands. "I didn't survive losing Sarah just to be too scared to fight for this. We've already proven we can handle the complications. Today proved that." Claire's eyes filled with tears. When did you become so brave? The day I opened the wrong door and met someone worth being brave for. She pulled him into a kiss that felt like relief and promise and the beginning of something sustainable. When they separated, Claire was smiling through tears. So we're doing this? She asked. Really doing this? We've been doing it for months. We're just finally admitting it publicly. My board will have opinions. Let them. We'll keep being good at our jobs. Mia will have opinions too, probably about wedding colors. Ryan laughed. She's already picked the dress style, apparently, for planning purposes. They stood together in Claire's office while Seattle spread out below them, and Ryan thought about how far they'd traveled from that October night when everything changed. From invisible to essential. From grieving to healing. From alone to together. I should pick up Mia, Ryan said reluctantly. Mrs. Chen's probably wondering what happened. Invite them both to dinner, my house. Let's celebrate properly. That evening, Ryan, Mia, Mrs. Chen, and Claire gathered around Claire's dining table for impromptu celebration. Mrs. Chen had brought Chinese takeout, enough to feed a small army, and Mia provided running commentary on everything. So Claire gets to keep her company? Mia asked, parsing the situation with characteristic directness. Yes, baby, she gets to keep it. Because Daddy proved she was smart to promote him? Ryan and Claire exchanged glances. Something like that, Claire said. Your daddy did amazing work today. He helped save my company. Mia considered this seriously. Does that mean you owe him something? Mia, Ryan started. I think it means we're a good team, Claire said, smiling. Your daddy helps me, I help him, and we help each other. Like a family. The word hung in the air, loaded with meaning. Mrs. Chen broke the silence. Speaking of family, when are you two getting married? The whole neighborhood is taking bets. Ryan choked on his water. Claire laughed. We've been officially together for less than 2 months, Ryan protested. So? When you know, you know. Mrs. Chen looked at Claire. You know, right? I know, Claire said quietly, her eyes on Ryan. See? So why wait? Mrs. Chen stood to clear plates. Life is short. Emma would tell you the same thing if she were here. The mention of Emma silenced the table, but it wasn't the heavy silence of grief. It was something gentler, acknowledgement without devastation. She would, Claire agreed softly. Emma always said waiting for perfect timing meant missing out on good timing. After dinner, while Mia showed Mrs. Chen Emma's library, Ryan and Claire stood together in the kitchen. Mrs. Chen's not subtle, Ryan said. She's right, though. Claire turned to face him. I'm not saying we should rush anything, but I know what I want. I want this. You, Mia, building a life together. I want Sunday mornings and school performances and arguments about whose turn it is to do dishes. Sounds pretty domestic for a CEO. Maybe that's the point. Maybe success looks different than I thought. She moved closer. Emma used to draw pictures of our family. In every single one we were together, doing normal things like having picnics or reading books. She didn't draw me in boardrooms or closing deals. She drew me present. Claire's voice thickened. I can't get those years back with her. But I can choose differently now. I can build something that honors her memory by actually living instead of just achieving. Ryan pulled her into his arms. We'll figure it out. The balance between work and life, between professional and personal. We're already getting better at it. Are we? Because I still work too much, and you still stress about whether you're doing enough for Mia. Yeah, but we're doing it together now. That's different. They stood in Claire's kitchen holding each other, and it felt like coming home. Not forgetting the people they'd lost, but making space for new love alongside the grief. Over the next few months, they settled into a rhythm that felt sustainable. Ryan continued his building systems work with Marcus's full support. Claire led Vantage Technologies with renewed energy, making time for both strategic leadership and personal life. And slowly, carefully, they wove their separate lives into something shared. Mia spent weekends at Claire's house as often as Ryan's apartment. Her drawings started featuring 3 people instead of 2, Daddy, Mia, and Claire. She asked questions about what it would be like if they all lived together, if Claire became her stepmom, if families could have 2 moms even though one had died. Ryan and Claire answered honestly, letting Mia process at her own pace. They talked about Sarah often, making sure Mia understood that loving Claire didn't mean forgetting her mother, that hearts had infinite capacity for love. In March, Ryan's building systems project won an Industry Innovation Award. He accepted it at a conference in Portland with Claire in the audience. During his acceptance speech, he thanked his team, Marcus, and the CEO who saw potential where others saw only a maintenance worker. The industry press covered it favorably. The narrative shifted from CEO's questionable romance to innovative leadership identifying unconventional talent. Claire's reputation not only recovered but grew stronger. In April, Claire and Ryan took Mia to the Oregon coast for spring break. They rented a small house on the beach and spent 3 days building sandcastles, flying kites, and existing outside the complications of their Seattle lives. Watching Mia chase waves while holding Claire's hand, Ryan felt something settle deep in his chest. This was family. Different from what he'd had with Sarah, but no less real, no less valuable. On their last evening at the coast, after Mia fell asleep, Ryan and Claire sat on the beach watching stars emerge. "I've been thinking," Ryan said, "about what comes next. Professionally or personally?" "Both, all of it." He turned to face her. "I want to marry you, Claire. I want Mia and me to move into your house and fill it with life. I want Sunday mornings and school performances and arguing about dishes. All of it." Claire's eyes shimmered in starlight. "That's quite a proposal." "It's not the proposal. That'll be better. With a ring and actual romance instead of me just blurting it out on a beach." Ryan took her hand. "But I wanted you to know so you can think about whether that's what you want too." "I don't need to think about it. I want exactly that." Claire squeezed his hand. "But Ryan, are you sure? Moving in together, getting married, it'll change everything. For you and Mia." "It already changed, months ago. We're just finally catching up to where we've been heading all along." They sat together on the beach while waves whispered against the shore, and Ryan felt Sarah's presence like a benediction. Not haunting, but blessing. As if his first love was telling him it was okay to build something new, that she'd want him and Mia to be happy. The proposal happened 3 weeks later in Emma's library. Ryan had planned something elaborate, but Mia accidentally revealed the secret by asking Claire if she'd said yes yet. So instead of the romantic restaurant reservation, Ryan knelt in the room where their lives had first intertwined. "Claire Vaughn," he said, with Mia standing beside him as co-conspirator. "You saw me when I was invisible. You gave me a chance when no one else would. You reminded me that life after loss could still be beautiful. Will you marry me?" Claire was crying before he finished. "Yes, absolutely, yes." Mia cheered. "I helped pick the ring, and I'm designing the wedding." The ring was simple, a sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. Claire slipped it on with shaking hands, and then they were all hugging and laughing and crying in Emma's library while books looked on like witnesses. Planning a wedding while navigating corporate responsibilities and 6-year-old opinions proved predictably chaotic. Mia insisted on being flower girl and junior wedding planner. Claire balanced CEO duties with cake tastings. Ryan discovered that combining households required decisions about everything from furniture to whose coffee maker survived the merger. But complications felt different now, less threatening. They'd survived hostile acquisitions and corporate scrutiny and learning to love after devastating loss. Wedding planning was easy by comparison. They decided on a small ceremony in June, immediate family, close friends, and key colleagues. Mrs. Chen cried when they asked her to be part of the ceremony. Marcus agreed to attend with surprising enthusiasm. Even Karen, Claire's executive assistant, got involved in planning logistics. The ceremony took place in Claire's backyard overlooking Lake Washington. 70 guests sat in chairs decorated with flowers Mia had helped choose. Music played softly. And when Claire appeared in a simple ivory dress, Ryan's breath caught. She was beautiful. But more than that, she was here, present and choosing this life with him. They wrote their own vows. Ryan promised presence, partnership, and showing up for all the moments that mattered. Claire promised to honor Emma and Sarah's memories while building something new, to choose love over fear, connection over isolation, life over penance. Mia stood between them during the ceremony, holding both their hands. When the officiant asked if anyone had reasons they shouldn't marry, Mia said loudly, "No, they should definitely get married. I already drew pictures." Laughter rippled through the guests. The reception was joyful and uncomplicated. They ate good food, danced to music Emma and Sarah both would have loved, and celebrated with people who'd supported them through the worst and were now witnessing the best. Marcus gave a surprisingly touching speech about unconventional choices leading to exceptional outcomes. Mrs. Chen cried through hers. And when Mia took the microphone to announce that she now had the best dad and the best stepmom and the best family, Ryan felt his throat close with emotion. Late in the evening, after Mia had fallen asleep on a couch and guests had departed, Ryan and Claire stood together looking at their home, because it was truly their home now, all three of them together. "We did it," Claire said softly. "We did. It's not going to be perfect. We'll still have hard days and complications and moments when grief shows up uninvited." "I know." Ryan pulled her close. "But we'll face them together. That's what matters." They stood in the gathering darkness while Seattle lights reflected off Lake Washington, and Ryan thought about journeys, about wrong doors leading to right places, about being seen after years of invisibility, about grief that didn't end but learned to coexist with joy. The next morning, Ryan woke in Claire's bed, their bed now, to find Mia standing in the doorway. "Is it weird that I'm happy even though Mommy's not here?" she asked quietly. Ryan sat up, making space for Mia to climb between him and Claire. "No, baby, it's not weird. Mommy would want you to be happy. And Emma would want me to be happy too," Claire added, waking. "They both would. That's how love works. It wants good things for the people left behind." Mia processed this with her characteristic seriousness. Then she said, "I think Mommy and Emma would be friends if they met." "I think so too," Ryan agreed. "Maybe they already are, in heaven or wherever people go." Claire pulled Mia into a hug. "That's a beautiful thought, sweetheart." They lay together in the morning light, Ryan, Claire, and Mia, building a family from loss and hope, and the courage to keep choosing life even when it hurt. Outside, Seattle was waking to a June day full of possibility. And inside, three people who understood grief intimately were learning that joy could coexist with sorrow. That the wrong door opened at exactly the right moment could lead to everything worth having. That being seen, really seen, could transform invisible lives into extraordinary ones. Ryan thought about the basement maintenance corridor where he'd spent 6 years being nobody special. About the executive office where Claire had cried alone. About the moment their paths crossed and everything changed. Some people called it fate. Others called it accident. Ryan called it grace, the kind that arrived disguised as a mistake and revealed itself as salvation. 3 months later, on a Sunday afternoon, they were all in Emma's library when Mia asked, "Can we adopt a dog?" Ryan and Claire looked at each other. "A dog?" Claire repeated. "Yeah, every family should have a dog. For completeness." "Completeness?" Ryan echoed, trying not to smile. "It's a very complete family already," Claire said carefully. "But a dog would make it more complete." "Emma liked dogs, right?" Claire's expression softened. "She loved them. She always wanted a golden retriever named something ridiculous like Sir Fluffington." "Then we should get one, and name it after Emma." Mia's eyes were bright with certainty. "She'd like that. Something living that remembers her." Ryan watched Claire's face as she considered this, saw the grief and joy mixing, the past and future colliding. "A golden retriever named Sir Fluffington?" Claire asked. "Or Lady Fluffington. I'm flexible." Claire laughed, really laughed, and Ryan saw 5 years of sorrow lift slightly. "Okay, let's get a dog." Mia cheered and immediately started planning dog logistics. Claire met Ryan's eyes over their daughter's head, because Mia was their daughter now, in all the ways that mattered, and smiled. They'd built this. A family that honored the past while embracing the future, that made space for grief and joy, that chose presence over perfection. And if a golden retriever named something absurd became part of that family, well, Emma and Sarah probably would have approved, probably would have laughed at the beautiful chaos of lives rebuilt from ruins. Ryan Brooks had opened the wrong door and found everything he didn't know he was searching for. Found love after loss. Found purpose beyond survival. Found that being seen really truly seen, could change absolutely everything. And in the end, that wrong door had been exactly right all along.